Hey, what's going on, Myles? What's happening?
Yo, Brian, what up? What up?
Yo. Sorry, voice cracked. Yo, did you know that now would be a good time to insert ads? Fuck you, YouTube. What the hell
Let's
is
do
wrong
it.
with
Let's
you?
do it. What ads we got?
I
Let's
don't
hear
know,
them.
man. I don't know. Like, apparently, even when I tell YouTube not to put in ads, they're still like, hey, do you want to buy some yogurt? I was like, no, we don't want yogurt.
Dude,
Yeah.
I have the opposite problem on my channel. Like, it never monetizes it. I always have to go in and do it manually. But
So
maybe that's a good thing.
How's it broken in both ways?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Myles, have you ever seen a horror movie? and
yes.
And
Sorry.
okay, so far so good. Okay, I'm glad you're on board so far. And and while you're watching it, and you know full well that you're supposed to despise the killer or despise the bad person in the movie.
Yeah.
But part of you is like, this guy's not so bad. Like, have you ever empathized with the wrong person in a horror movie?
Well, what's wrong for one person might be right for another. Like, a lot of the time I watch those murder mysteries and I'm like, they deserved it. They deserved it.
Okay. And well, if you want to know way too much about me and the kind of people I empathize with, go watch Good Boy. It's a foreign flick. Yeah, and it was entertaining. It wasn't, super scary or even remotely scary, but it was fucked up enough where you're like, I wonder what's going to happen next.
Was he not a good boy? Was he not a good boy?
Oh, he was a good boy, all right.
Is it about a dog? Amazing.
I love it. It is about a dog.
A dog.
And he's
amazing.
Very, very good boy. Anyway, go check it out, and we'll move on.
Have you seen Old Boy?
Oh yeah. Not my style of movie, but I understand the appeal. Everyone seems to love that thing.
I haven't seen it in a very long time.
Yeah. Vince Virtue in the chat, by the way, says sirens on his end, and he is absolutely right.
Wow.
So while the sirens are going off, you want to get the show started?
Let's do it, Brian.
All right, let's do it.
Weep.
This is PSVR GameScast Live. We film live every single Monday, Wednesday, and 2 Wise Friday right here on YouTube. We do it live at 6 p.m. Eastern or thereabouts. We do it live for your viewing pleasure. For all of those who need a little bit of oral pleasure, though, don't forget we do this on podcast services of your choice. That's right. Thanks to our good friend Rypop. And if these shows are just too goddamn long for you, well, guess what? We understand that too. And our good buddy Sci-Fi Gamecat Henry puts timestamps into this after the fact. This is not a green screen. It's
so good. I love the view.
This view is what's been hiding behind bookshelves of video games for years. Like, how fucked up of a person do I have to be like, oh, I have this beautiful view?
Wait,
I should cover it.
Is that
with
the same?
bookshelves.
Sorry, is the camera pointing the same direction it always
Yeah,
does?
I'm about 6 feet back. Yep.
Oh, okay, you are back though, because I was like, it's a lot closer than I thought it was. Yeah, but it is that wall. Wow.
Yep.
I mean, honestly, this is going to sound the lamest thing in the world. Seeing out that window, I was like, I miss America. Just like the American streets, I'm like, I need to get back to the States.
Can you see the streets? You just see a bunch of lights, right?
I can see some cars, and I'm looking out for some siren lights later.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure we'll see plenty of those.
Yeah. You can literally say, sirens on my end. Look there. There.
There they go. It's so funny, too, because when I first moved in, I literally would hear sirens all the time, like I do now. But I would actually look out my window and be like, I wonder what's happening. And you never see them. Guys, you may have noticed that there's a few changes made here, and nothing too crazy. You're gonna see some of the changes throughout the course of the show, but everything's guaranteed to break down. And so I'm trying to make sure that we get tips on screen, that I have access to be able to scroll through tips like this, and for the people who really wanted to see the live chat on the screen, because as it turns out, some people don't have access to the live chat post stream. We wanted to make sure that those people could still see what they need to see to be able to feel as though they're part of the community while they're watching the live stream. So I'm doing my absolute best to make sure that everybody gets what they want here. And you know what they say, Myles. When you try to please everybody, you please nobody.
Correct, Brian. Right. Absolutely.
What's happening in your neck of the woods, Myles? What's going on over there?
Wow. Was the last show I did on a Wednesday? It was, wasn't it? It was the one I swapped with Wes.
Yeah,
this is the thing, is it just feels like such a long time. So I think since then, I played. No, we did talk about in the show, the seventh guest. I'm just like, time's gone out the window. But yeah, yesterday I played the 2 new games, Ghostbusters VR, I'm going to call it, Rise of the Ghost Lord, and Journeys to Foundation. I want to say a huge thank you. A lot of GameCats showed up to it, and in less than 24 hours, it became my most viewed Let's Play. And it was my 94th Let's Play, I just realised. I've done 94 PSVR2 games. And I haven't decided what I'm going to be doing Let's Plays of tomorrow. Brian and I were talking about like what are all the horror games on PSVR2 at the moment? Because I think the only one I'm still yet to play is Organ Quarter. So I'm gonna purchase that tonight and get on that tomorrow. I think that'll be a good one. But I still need 2 other games. So if there are any Game Cats with Let's Play suggestions, I mean, I'm going to play them all eventually. I mean, what would you suggest, Brian? I mean, obviously we could go backwards and forwards because I might be done it. But anything from like, I still haven't done Saints and Sinners Part 2 actually, because a lot of these games where there are 2 of them, like Cave Digger or Saints and Sinners, I've tried to let there be quite a bit of distance between both games. But
sure.
I think it's been a few months since I did Saints and Sinners, so I think it might be time to jump into Saints and Sinners Part 2. And also, it'll keep in with the spooky October season, which has so many horror games departing us, right? There was, which has been a real shame.
Yeah, we'll talk about all those in a little bit as well. We've got a lot to. We have so much to talk about in today's show. I didn't even send. Just FYI, like this, it's been such a crazy day. I didn't send Myles a run a show. I haven't.
I need it.
Right, like literally, the construction guys left 2 minutes before the show started, and so thank you everybody for being patient, for hanging out, and Looper the Underground Gamecast says play Last Labyrinth. That's true. It is on PSVR 2. Have you played it?
No, I've got it, and I haven't played it yet. So, all right, so that's the 3. So tomorrow, we've decided this already. This is great. You're my producers, everyone. Going to do Organ Quarter, Saints and Sinners Part 2, and Last Labyrinth. That seems like a spooky Halloween evening, right?
It sure does. Yeah, I actually forgot Last Labyrinth was on PSVR 2, because I don't particularly like it, but I would love to watch you suffer. And that's, you know.
I like what Danish Shingak just said in the chat. October was so spooky, it scared the games away.
That's really good.
I love the chat.
That's really good. Yeah. All right, we're going to tackle a couple tips, but then we're going to get the show rolling here. All the way to the top, Toby the Game Dingo with the $10 tip says, I work almost every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So happy to have off to watch my favorite channel live. Thanks for all the great content. Thank you, Toby. And I'm so happy that you've got the evening off, or tomorrow morning off, or however that worked out for you, because I don't know, man. Like, I know how it is. I got my favorite channels, and I get to watch them live. It's a different vibe. It's like being there, except a little further away, right? What if a face just popped up right here and was like, and it was Toby, and he was like, I'm right here, don't worry. He's like, I finally get the night off. I wanted to show up in person.
I guess you just don't worry then, like, if that's what Toby says.
I'm going to have nightmares about this shit tonight. Macho, the real estate procrastinating game cat with the $5 tip says, they'd be done by now if they would get to work and stop looking through those damn Playboy magazines. It's true. It's true. There are moments, you know, when people are working in your apartment or in your house or whatever, when you're like, can we not have this conversation that we're in the middle of right now? And can you guys just get back to what you're doing? Because, like, we, you know, full well, every minute that they, you know, occupy earlier in the day is going to extend to later in the day. Sirens on my end. I feel like the sirens are louder because we can see the city.
They're louder when you can see them.
Yeah, it's crazy. Wait, can we actually see it?
Nah. No, sorry.
No, I want to take the camera off the stand and like show you guys. Be like, look at the city. Macho, the real estate procrastinating game cat with another $5 tip says, I have pizza on the way and my girl rolling my weed. You got a good girl. Who's your good girl? While Alan Wake 2 on my TV and this on my phone. Don't screw up my plans, Brian. It's a vibe. That's a fucking great vibe. Sorry, more sirens. They're getting louder.
I've seen of Alan Wake 2, man. Another example of a game I'd love to see in VR. I mean, is it? Sorry, what's the name of the developers? Is it Remedy? It's
Remedy,
not Remedy,
yeah.
is it?
Right,
It's Remedy, yeah. Control. So I've played Max Payne. I never played the original Alan Wake. People were asking if I play Alan Wake 2. I'd love to. Probably not. I did 35 hours of Spider-Man 2 last weekend.
Yeah.
And loved it. And now I'm back to VR. Yeah, I mean, I played Control and I loved it. And just the environments they make, I would love to see them make a VR game. Like, they just really know how to do tone and just, surreal worlds. I mean, for anyone that has played Control, I'm not going to spoil it for anyone, will know that there is a scene quite near the end which just takes a complete left turn and it feels like you're in a music video. And it's really, really cool. And just like with their creativity and out of the box design, I would love to see them do a VR game. Have you played any of their games, Brian?
Yeah, like I've never spent a ton of time with any of them, but I played a little bit of them. I started, I believe, what was the one before Control? Do you remember off the top of your head?
I mean, I knew that Alan Wake was before it, but I don't know.
Alan Wake was quite a bit before it.
Or was it quite a bit before?
Remedy Games. Let's see, Remedy Entertainment. Let's check out their Wikipedia page real quick, because I know there was one. Quantum Break. I played Quantum Break because I had an Xbox One, and I believe that's what that came out on. And I played a bunch of that, but I eventually sold my Xbox One because I didn't play any of the games that I bought on it to any great length, and sort of that's when I decided I was like, I should not own an Xbox console because I don't play any games on it. But yeah. Alan Wake 1, I played a little bit of the remaster, and I was like, this is great, but it's not VR, and so I'm skipping the sequel. Yeah. So, we've also got Super Cool Video Bro with the $2 tip says, what's the tip goal to have them on as guests? Oh, the construction guys? Yeah. You can't pay me enough. No, I couldn't wait to get them going. Super Cool Video Bro with another $2 tip says, yay! Hi, commercial. So sorry guys, I really got to figure out some shit on YouTube's end. It seems like I'm gonna have to demonetize the videos before I even start them in order for YouTube not to insert ads whenever the fuck they feel, which seems to always be at the beginning of the show. And then they throw in 100 after the show's over. So I got to figure that out. There's got to be a better way to do it.
So in my settings, Brian, and not to make this show about like the YouTube backend, but it's like a peek behind the curtain for people that aren't content creators. When I've tried to monetize my videos and I looked at like the mid-roll like ads, it has like 3 settings of like aggressive, medium, and light. You don't have any of those options? I don't know.
No. They say let us place them,
which is YouTube does what it wants.
Essentially they're like, let us handle it is one of the options, and you do it yourself is the other option. I was like, well, then I'll fucking do it myself. Like, I will add them manually. That is the option that I've chosen. And they were like, nope, we're just going to do whatever the fuck we want. And I'm like, that's irritating. So sorry about the ads, guys, especially during a live show. I don't want you guys being 2 minutes behind because they forced you to watch some ridiculous ad. Planet Schlorpian with the $5 tip says Jim Ryan will be as Mr. Herpes. Wow. How do you really feel? 2024 will be a better year for VR without a doubt, in part thanks to Sony getting rid of that out of touch schmuck. Almost rhymes. Almost rhymes. Yep. I like it. I don't hate Jim Ryan like everyone else does. I'm not blaming him for all the world's problems. However, if we get somebody in there that likes VR a little bit more, I think it would be great. We'll be talking about that a bit in a second too. Cerebral Frost, the SPVR cat, Sony Pictures VR, SPVR cat, and also Sony Pictures VR. You need to put a goddamn space between SP and VR because that's what you guys do. You need to maintain some sort of continuity because it's ridiculous. Cerebral Frost gives us a $10 tip and says, great views for pizza and a scary movie. I'm down. I could use a scary movie and a pizza. Not gonna lie. Andrew Ehrenreich with the $2 tip says, whose cock do we have to suck? He didn't write that. He bleeped it out. Let's be honest. Andrew Ehrenreich said, whose cock do we have to suck for Dead Space in VR? I don't know, but I'm sure we can get a petition started. Okay, hold on. There's a lot of tips, and you guys are fucking amazing. So thank you so much for tipping and for being here and again for waiting while the show was delayed. And we'll get back to all the tips here in a second. So thank you, everybody. We appreciate you. But we do need to get some of the things rolling here as far as the show's concerned. And one of the first things I want to talk about is something I just kind of put together before the show. As you guys know, the Gamecat Meetup 2024 is happening in March during the time of PAX East, and it's expensive. And the closer we get to it, the more expensive we're realizing that it's becoming. Luckily, I'm here just outside of Boston, so my travel is not going to be expensive, but my hotel room is expensive. Myles is flying in from the UK. AJ's coming in from Atlanta. Wes is coming in from God knows where in the deep south. But, I'm sure it's not easy to get out of that jungle. And then, of course, everyone's going to pay for hotel rooms when they're here. There's food and whatever other expenses are incurred while they're here. We got to buy the PAX East tickets. It adds up very, very quickly. And that's a lot of just out-of-pocket expense for people who are literally donating their time generously to be on the show, and we want everyone to be there at the meetup if you're showing up there. So what I figured would be a good idea would be to start up a little help for everybody, a GoFundMe page for the Gamecat Meetup 2024. This is for help the crew, and I threw up a random goal of $5,000 on there. Like I said, it's going to get real expensive even after all the travel stuff is taken care of. One of the things I want to do is rent a panel room at the event, because at the event they have all these big rooms where you go to panels and listen to people talk and whatever. But I thought, how cool would it be if we did a live GamesCast episode with all the hosts? We put 5 microphones up on the stage. We all sit there. We do a live episode with a real audience. We broadcast it live on the channel for anyone who can't make it. And on top of that, we have that 5th microphone. More sirens on my end. We have that 5th microphone to do real viewer takeover questions. We invite people up from the audience and sit there with us and ask their question in the 5th mic, and they get to be part of the show, like a real viewer takeover thing. And so so we just wanted to make sure that if anybody was able to contribute, that you can contribute whatever. It would really, really help everybody out. I think I have the link handy, so let me very quickly. That's not it.
And I was only told about this as we were going live, and I thought,
right,
wow, this is making everything seem a lot more tangible.
Okay, here's the link. I'm going to throw this in here now. That's a really long link. Hopefully that works. Let me know if it works, everybody. And I don't want anybody to feel obligated to donate. Like, that is absolutely not what we're doing here. Everybody's struggling. Everybody has different things going on in their life, and the last thing we would ever want is for anyone to contribute when they have their own things going on, when they have their own difficulties. We understand that these are very first world problems. We love you all and appreciate you all, and figured it wouldn't hurt to ask. So thank you all very much for even considering it.
Make it the pinned message, Brian. The link. I've just removed the existing one, but I can't pin that one myself.
I got it. Thank you. Let's see. Replace pinned message.
There you go.
There it is. Cool.
Ta-da!
Wonderful. Anything to add to that, Myles?
No, just just hearing about it again is making it feel more real, and I'm like, I need to start making plans for next year. But I do want to come back to the States. I had a good time. It was literally 4 or 5 weeks ago. It'd be great to come out there and to do a live GamesCast would be, like, when I say live, I mean we always do live, but like in person, real live. GamesCast.
How weird is it that I've never actually met you face to face and shook your hand and given you a hug and cuddled and stuff.
Well, this is the thing, is meeting people on the internet. I mean, from my early YouTube days, I've met thousands of people that I know online, and the thing I'd always say is, when you meet people, because you're always eye level when you're on camera to each other, if you meet someone and they are taller than you, you'd be like, oh, I thought you were shorter, because you'd think they were eye level. And if they're shorter than you, you're like, oh, I thought you were taller. Because how tall are you, Brian? You're quite tall, aren't you?
I'm about 6 feet. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, I'm 5'8".
Only once have I ever met someone and been like, "Oh, you're taller than I thought you were." That was Greg Miller.
Yeah, right.
When I met AJ, I met Dave. I'm going to meet you, and like it's always like, oh, like I just picture everybody taller than they are. Everyone's shorter than I expect. So.
That's cool. And the thing I'm most excited about this is it's just a great opportunity to champion VR, like to have a presence there, and sort of it's one thing to do this amazing stuff that we do online, and hitting 100,000 subs and like looking towards this would be a great sort of start to the new year, and it'll be around 1 year since PSVR2, so this is amazing, and obviously if anyone can support it, amazing, but don't feel obligated to. But this community is always supportive. Like we've never had to sort of ask for people to be supportive. So
right. The thing,
love and appreciate everyone.
Absolutely. And the thing was when I first started realizing it's like, well, what if one of us couldn't make it, or two of us couldn't make it, or God forbid, three of us couldn't make it because it just got too expensive. Imagine everyone who's coming to the meetup. It would be like, oh, this blows. I came here to meet Myles and he's not here, or AJ or Wes and they're not here. Like it's like not much of a Gamecat meetup if I'm the only one that fucking shows. So,
what's the date of it again, Brian?
I believe it's March 21st or the 24th. And so anyway, I hope everybody gets to join us there. Like seriously, like if you're like, well, I could either support you or I could just go myself, we'd much rather have you there, so hopefully a lot of you can make it. That'd be amazing.
March is good because funnily enough, just with everything you've got going on in February, I've got kitchen work going on. And I'd hate for that to get in the way because I've got to be home for it because I'm doing it. Parts of it anyway.
Well, all right, Myles, you ready to get on some news here?
Dude, we've got lots of news to cover. I mean, half of it, I don't even know what it is, but I'm excited.
This is true. This is all a surprise to Myles because even though I had all day to not play video games, I didn't prep you for this.
Every is now opening a new present. What's in this one? Oh, we've got, what is it, Brian?
Socks.
What's the first present?
I'm sorry. The first one is socks. Right.
Okay.
But it was put in a really nice box. And then
that's fair. That was good. I was kind of looking forward to it. Okay.
All right. Over on barons.com, it's a very... It's very much a website. Take him from barons.com interviewed Sony PlayStation executive Eric Lempel and talked to him about the future of PlayStation. And I think the part that we care about is PlayStation VR2. And here's the quote that you guys are going to be interested in, or hopefully interested in. Switching over to VR, this is from the article, obviously. The VR category is important to us. It's a category that can help us with innovation. This is Eric Lempel. It's never going to be the only way people play games. He hasn't met me. But I'm happy that we're in it. There are great experiences to be had, and consumers really like it. But it's a nascent business for us. It's something we want to be part of, but it's not the core proposition we have this season. PlayStation 5 is the core. This is quite a quote, Myles. When they're talking about VR, they're saying VR is important to them. It can help us with innovation. They're happy they're in it. These are all good things to say. There are great experiences that be had. Consumers like it. All good things. He says it's a nascent business for us, which anybody doesn't. It just means it's just getting started. It's an early part of their the PlayStation history. They don't have a whole lot of VR past. No one does. It hasn't been around that long. And then he says it's not the core proposition we have this season. PlayStation 5's the core. Do we want to read into that and say, does that mean next season VR could be more the core, or the season after that, like next holiday season, or what do you think? What do you think they're really saying here?
Well, for me, I do think it is a question of like, how quickly does the market grow? Whether it's Meta with their quests, or it's PlayStation with PlayStation VR2, they all want it's the chicken or egg, isn't it? It's the same with developers of like, why aren't all the big players coming in? Because if Grand Theft Auto did a VR game, everyone would jump on, but they want to jump in when the audience is there, already.
True.
And I kind of feel like when it comes to VR, they always want to mention it. It's a big part of it, but whether it becomes a core is based on the demand. and obviously the figures that we have for actual consoles is just at magnitudes of scale larger than what VR is. So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, I've just noticed since the launch of PSVR2 the amount of non-VR players who've jumped into the space now, which is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a process. This is going to take a lot of time. But as you were reading that, it did make me think about like the technology of PSVR2. I could see it going well into the era of the PlayStation 6, just because, you know, when you think about games that we play on PSVR2, when we have like the highest resolution and clarity, it looks amazing. But obviously that's usually when you hold something close and it's quite static and not a lot else going on, because it comes down to the computing power. I think we've all definitely, well, I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth. I think we've come to the conclusion that PSVR2, its bottleneck is to do with like what is possible on the PS5. And so, yeah, I think for them, it's like PSVR2 is something we're working on. It's not the core, it's something there, but I do think it's, you know, let's say we're mid-cycle in the console journey. They're going to be going all in when it comes to like the PlayStation 6, and I think the PSVR2 will be something that complements it, and depending on how successful it is and how many people have adopted it will determine whether or not it becomes a new core. But like ultimately Sony is a hardware company, and when it comes to PlayStation, and the console will always be the core of everything else, whether it's the PlayStation Portal or all these other devices that they're doing at the moment.
Yeah, no, you make a good point. I mean, there's an obvious reason why PlayStation didn't go out and create the next Vita or the next PSP. The reason they created a Portal was because they were like, we need to capitalize on the 40, 50, whatever million number of people who bought a PlayStation 5. They've realized the last thing they need to do is segment that market and say, well, you know, we have all these people buying. It's the same thing Nintendo did with Switch, right? They said, we want to make sure that like we need to unify the thing that's working for us and the thing that's not working for us. And that's essentially what PlayStation's done as well. So what I will say is that, you know, it's reading a quote like this that makes me go, Sony could have easily not brought out the PSVR 2 and been like, It's not insanely profitable for us. The millions and millions that went into the R&D, you know, like how much are they really getting back from that? It's like, sure, they're getting some game sales or whatever, but they're not dominating the space by any stretch. And so they easily could have just been like, you know, we're going to skip this generation. We're going to bring out PSVR 2 with PS6. And the fact that they just said, you know what, but we want to stay in the space and we want to give third parties like a place to bring their VR games. And we want to like, you know, utilize the power of the PlayStation 5 to make some of the best versions. And when you look at it in that light and say, okay, well, maybe Sony's not going to be bringing us tons of first party game in the game, even if it's not like, you know, aggressively. I'm just kind of, I'm happy that they're doing it, because from a business standpoint, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to be here. So you got to give it to them to some degree.
Yeah, and also when it comes to like not many first party flat screen games coming out this holiday either. Like we've had Spider-Man.
Right.
I know there's been conversations. I think it was on GameScast or in Discord. I can't remember. It's all a bit of a blur. Join our Discord if you haven't already. But yeah, I mean, what is the next big title after Spider-Man 2 in terms of first party? We're waiting on Naughty Dog. Santa Monica Studios are working on some other IP. It'd be interesting to hear what they're up to. So there's a lot going on there. And as for VR, you're absolutely right. And I do think this is something we need to do again and again when it comes to our criticisms of like what Sony is doing when it comes to VR. And as you say, Sony could have just not done PSVR 2. They're doing it. And I find there's been some conversations this week about, you know, the way that, you know, PlayStation VR 2 is. Say again?
This week.
Sorry,
I didn't mean to derail the conversation.
No, that's cool. It would have been fine. It's just I didn't hear you, so that was why. You were trying to be subtle, but the fact I didn't hear you is what made me stop. You should have just screamed at the top of your voice and I would have just kept going. Yeah. But yeah, in Discord this week, it was really interesting conversations around the coverage of like Ghostbusters and PlayStation Access were covering it. And there was a lot of complaints going, they're covering it, but it's PlayStation Access. They're a part of PlayStation. Of course, they're going to give it positive coverage. And I'm like, you can't really win these days. We always complain that like PlayStation VR isn't getting the coverage on all these like main channels from PlayStation, and then when they do, we go, oh, but of course they would do it because it's PlayStation, and obviously that's an oversimplification of simplification of the conversation. But the reason I mean it is flipping around the question is a really important thing we need to do when it comes to the optics, and you've hit it on the head with that, which is, you know, we might not feel that enough has been done for VR, but they put out a new headset in February with hundreds of games, and loads of other great games are coming. And I've never had so much fun in VR in my life since February. Like, this has been the best year of VR, and that should speak for something. And that's not easy. That takes a lot of investment. It's a lot of investment, not just in paying for the hardware, but the testing and development of it over years and years, the timing, the marketing. And it's not to say that we shouldn't demand more. But I think in the grand scheme of things, we're very, very lucky that PlayStation are doing what they are in the VR space.
Well, something else that they're doing in the VR space, Myles, according to the most recent, I believe, update for the PSVR2, maybe the PlayStation 5, allows us to turn off the social screen output when using the pass-through mode. Sony calls it see-through, which I think is ridiculous. Is pass-through fucking copyrighted? Can we all just use pass-through? I don't know what the deal is. So it's actually an option in the settings. Turn that off, and which makes a lot of sense, I think. Like when I'm streaming and I have to go into pass-through mode, the last thing I want is for people to see my fucking messy living room, right? You guys shouldn't be seeing that. And but the more interesting part of this it was that in the option, it said that, I want to make sure I say this right. It says, it'll prevent the see-through view from being seen on the TV, except when pass-through is being used as part of a game. And so, certain developers have confirmed that they do have this option now to use pass-through in-game. Do you think that Sony's feeling the squeeze a little bit from the Quest 3? Because the Quest 3 is obviously pushing the mixed reality or the XR or AR, whatever the fuck you want to call it. They're pushing it so hard. That was almost their complete marketing campaign for the Quest 3. Was like, look, in Stranger Things, a hole's going to open up in your wall and you're going to go to the upside. What? Do you think Sony's feeling the squeeze here and saying like, well, yeah, I mean, if you want to do that, then I guess you can do that on our thing too. I'm glad this was actually a story I was aware of before doing the show, so this wasn't a huge surprise for me, and I had a lot of thinking about it this week, which was this week. Sorry.
This week, yeah. Every time I say it now, any conversation, I'm
going to go full screen when I do.
Say, can we get this done this week?
Yeah.
This week, yeah. I mean, when it comes to the pass-through technology, and what I'm about to say might actually end up not making any sense at all, show complete ignorance when it comes to tech. But yeah, all right, I'll just speak. I'll speak as if no one's listening. But when I use pass-through in the headset, pass-through looks fine. But when like you live stream it or use the social camera on your TV, like the detail out of those cameras is amazing. You can read text easy on it. It's just not doing it in the headset, which makes me think, is what you're seeing in the headset a lower resolution just because they're like, we don't need it to be any higher? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just that we haven't needed to use it for that. And the reason I bring this up is when it comes to mixed reality, obviously what they're doing on the Quest 3, it's in color. I think there's a lot more scope for it. I don't think color is even an option when it comes to using the pass-through. I feel those cameras are just black and white. Again, I have no tech background. I don't know if that's the case. But when it comes to this patent and, you know, having that option where, with the update saying that if you want to turn off broadcast so that it doesn't show pass-through, but unless it's games that have that sort of, that as a feature, I think it's just like many things when patents are made. It's just Sony giving options. There might be no, maybe that's always been an option for game developers, but because of those limitations of it being black and white, or maybe the quality's not been great, no one's done it. But Sony just needs to go, we need to cover ourselves. It's like when they do the commercials for Gran Turismo 7 in VR, and they say it comes with all the modes except split screen. And people are like, well, yeah, duh. They have to say it, you know? So I think that's kind of what it is. I think they're just covering themselves and they're keeping the options open. It'd be interesting to see if anyone does use it. And it's still early days, but yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely, I've talked to some studios who are making mixed reality games for Quest, and then they told me, we're also bringing this to PSVR2, and I was like, okay, I don't know if obviously that shit's going to be black and white. I don't see the point really, unless they really dive into that whole black and white motif. Maybe can they make all the black and white stuff look sepia toned if they wanted to? Like, do they have that ability? We don't really know the extent of their of what they can do with filters or whatever to what we've seen so far when setting our play area. It doesn't excite me, but it's kind of cool that the ability's there. And don't forget, it's just, this is something we could absolutely see in a mid-gen refresh as well. More sirens on my end. I swear they're louder without the bookshelf surrounding me. In a mid-gen refresh of the PSVR2, there's no reason why we couldn't have color pass-through. There's no reason why we couldn't have a lot of things. Possibly pancake lenses. Who the fuck knows? Whatever people want, maybe we'll get, if we even get one. But it's neither here nor there. Anything's possible. So it's just cool that. I like when people experiment with things. It's not something I care about personally, but I'll be interested to see what it looks like. I guess can't imagine it's going to look great.
Yeah, it's how I feel about mixed reality. I know there's a lot of people that go, "No, I don't care for mixed reality," and that's fine. Like, some people don't care about stuff. For me, it's like mixed reality isn't the reason I'd get a Quest 3. Like, that's not going to pull me in. But I think with all these things, you need to celebrate the innovation with the tech, because what they're using it for now might be very gimmicky, but then so was VR when it first came out. It was all just gimmick experiences. But if they succeed and do more and experiment with it, there could be some amazing things that happen later down the line. So,
dude, Pokemon Go, I think was pretty gimmicky, but man, I was hooked on that shit for like ever. Like, yeah. Like, all of my city was hooked on it. Like, we'd go to the most dangerous parts of the city. There'd be hundreds of people, like, going through the park, like, where, like, you would never want to be at 2 a.m. by yourself. But with hundreds of people all playing Pokemon Go, totally different story. Fifth, with the Australian $5 tip, says, you should have the bookcases back. Now Jim Ryan can find you with Google Maps.
I saw that earlier. I laughed so much.
Yeah, I don't have anything to say. While it is now a Gamecat, specifically a White Tiger with the level 1 membership, says lens fog sweat happening due to central heating being on. It is a little bit weird when you're like, sometimes you put on a cold headset and then you start working out or you do something physical and then your lenses heat up. It's exactly the same problem in reverse when you've got a hot headset in your I don't know how physics work, Miles. I shouldn't have started that conversation.
Physics. What physics?
I don't know. Let's move on to the next one. All this malarkey with the level 3 membership says, it's Halloween. What horror movie would you want made into a VR game?
Oh, I think I mentioned this on last week's show. For me, it's The Thing. The Thing, they did a computer game of it, which I wasn't massively into, but a lot of people loved it. But the thing is an Among Us style sort of game, the trust thing, but it's kind of like, the gruesomeness of it. Oh man, yeah. The Thing would just be amazing.
So I think I know the Thing that you're talking about is a PS2 game, right? Or PS around that era. PS2,
man, I can't remember, which was done
PC.
as a sequel to the original. Yeah,
right. And so maybe getting actually, if you get people in there who are like invested in role playing a little bit, like you get actual online people to play with you, and then one of them has to hold the secret, like, hi, I'm the Thing, ha ha ha.
That's it.
Yeah, be pretty cool. I I love horror movies. But the problem is I don't know how many of them would translate well to VR. I think I'd have more fun being the killer in some of these games, which I think why like things like Dead by Daylight and Friday the 13th game, why those have taken off and done so well, because I think it's fun being the killer. And so I'm sort of like
Dead by Daylight is a game I've wanted to come to VR because and it has all the killers from those horror movies, because I'm always thinking about Friday the 13th, Freddy Krueger, but it's like it's less about the film and more about the characters, and that's why Dead by Daylight does it very well. But sorry Brian, for interrupting you.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, it's just I mean I don't know. I feel like I'd pick like Halloween or something. Because it'd be like, oh, I get to be Michael Myers, and I get to go stalk these babysitters and stuff. And then I started thinking about it, like, man, but doing that in VR, in first-person VR, like, I feel like at a certain point, you're like, okay, you start getting to that question like that we had with Manhunt on the PS2, and Grand Theft Auto, and all these times we've ever stopped and very briefly asked, where do we draw the line? Like, when is too much too much? Like, we are essentially making serial killer simulators if you start doing something like that. And I'm like, I think I'd like it just to be like, because this is really fucked up, but then you're also like, who is this affecting in strange ways? So I'd love to fucking see it though. I think it'd be really cool.
There's some really great suggestions in the chat, like a Saw escape room, obviously the original Alien movie.
Such a great answer. Such a great answer.
Yeah, I think about, you can imagine going in that room with all the eggs there, being incredible. But I mean, a lot of these have come to games, even like Event Horizon. Straight away I'm just thinking of like Dead Space. So there are sort of spiritual successors and things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of good things there.
Yeah. One of the downsides of our new setup here is that when trailers end, they don't just loop. So I just got to pick random fucking trailers to play well. I'll figure it all out eventually.
By the way, speaking of games and horror, have you seen the Five Nights at Freddy's movie?
No, it came out last night here, but I have not gotten around to seeing it.
It's on Peacock, isn't it? Streaming as well? Yeah.
Is it?
I think so, yeah.
Well, if that's the case, I'm fucking watching it tonight. Yeah. I got Peacock.
I've heard very mixed thoughts about it. Some people I've heard said they really liked it, and others said it was absolute rubbish.
Well, I've gone through the critic reviews and I've gone through the viewer reviews online, and the critics seem to have not liked it. But but the fans seem to really like it.
That's cool.
Which is interesting because some of them have pointed out, they're like, if you're a huge Five Nights fan, then you're going to be upset of what they did with the lore. Like some of it's in there, but not enough, or like maybe they screwed with it or whatever. But I think most people are saying like, hey, like it actually includes the lore pretty well.
Well, the original writer's in it. He's involved in it.
Yeah, Scott Cawthon.
That's it.
Yeah.
What's the name of the? I'm trying to think of like other sort of internet memeable sort of horror things like Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm thinking of like Slender Man. There hasn't been a Slender Man VR game officially, has there? On PlayStation VR,
at least not on consoles for sure.
But because there was like The Arrival, wasn't it? Was like the most modern one, and then I'm gonna get it wrong. What's the one? Is it called The Backrooms or something?
Yep. Yeah, people are working on Backrooms VR games at the moment, like multiple studios. I think some of them are like really small independent studios. So I don't know how many of them will actually get. But man, the Backrooms. The shit I've seen online looks really cool, and I'd love to play something like that in VR.
I played a Backrooms map in Rec Room, and it was actually really good. Like, as far as Rec Rooms is, it was freaky as hell. And as someone who didn't really know a lot about the Backrooms, I was like, this is amazing. So yeah, and some people were saying it was done in Dreams. So yeah, I played the
Dreams Backrooms games. At least one of them. I'm sure there were more because all these, as you said, memeable situations. There's also the creepypasta Siren Head games in Dreams, which some of those were fucking really, really well done. I'd love an official Siren Head game. I think that would be great. Planet Schlorpian with a $2 tip says it's like 9/11 outside Brian's apartment. It's like 9/11 part 2 some days.
Wow.
Yeah, part 2 wasn't. Don't worry, guys. Part 2 wasn't nearly as intense as part 1. So that's why I had to bring it down a notch. Samson 143 VR. Hey, Myles, I want to talk to Samson.
I want to talk to Samson.
Just saying. He says I'll be at PAX, so whoever wants to talk with me can happen then.
All right.
Nice.
Talk to Samson.
We're gonna meet Samson and we're gonna get lit up, dude. ET does 2K9.now with the $5 tip says, can confirm that short comment, Brian. I'm only 5'6". Only. It's a good height, man. It's a good height. I've felt very clumsy my whole life. I've always wished, when I was younger, I wished to be shorter, until I found out that when it comes to dating, being taller is actually beneficial. And I was like, I guess it's okay. Macho, the real estate procrastinating Gamecat with the $5 tip says, sidebar / hot take. Would you guys let a game / dev mishandling your race / culture to a point of disrespect stop you from buying their game? Hashtag Spider-Man 2. Is
it? I don't know if that's to do with the. Well, I could be guessing completely wrong, but I know that like Miles Morales, there was a flag that was done wrong in his apartment. It was the wrong flag or something, and they had to like patch it out, and they apologized. I don't know if that's what Macho is referring to.
Yeah,
Macho, let us know in the chat though. But would you? What was the question? Would you let their mishandling stop you from buying their game? Well, I wouldn't have known until I bought it. I mean, I know it was reported on. They are patching it. I don't know if that makes it better, but again, I might be completely wrong. I'm assuming it's the flag.
Listen, if someone was intentionally being like, like homophobic or racist or whatever in, at the studio, and being like, "Fuck you, we put this in there intentionally," But most things happen unintentionally, and so normally no. Like I'm very understanding that accidents happen, especially in something massive like this, where there's hundreds of employees all working on different parts of the game. Like mistakes are going to happen. He just says in the chat, the flag was done once again, and the changing of the Spanish language, like our language, is offensive or wrong. I mean, look, for me, that's like it's a personal choice. Like if I'm a middle-aged, well, almost middle-aged white guy, and so like middle class, and so I can't really speak to that kind of experience because obviously we've had it really, really easy. So for people that are offended and stuff, like if that completely is inexcusable, then yeah, don't support it. Yeah, absolutely.
But vote with your wallet.
Yeah, and I'm never going to tell anyone that they shouldn't feel disrespected when I don't understand what it means to be in your shoes. So yeah, I say, I'm 100% with you, Myles. Vote with your wallet, and be noisy about it online. Make sure that they hear your voice and they know that they've fucked up. And it sounds like they know they fucked up, and hopefully they will fucking.
It's already been patched. It has already been patched. Yeah. Brian, I was actually trying to I had a complete brain fart, and I was when you were talking about something, and it's come back to my mind now because you were talking about like when it comes to horror games in VR and like them making you do certain stuff. Like, is it wise? This is kind of. I always feel like an old man when I brought this up about like the ethics of VR. Are we getting to a point now where VR is going to make you do stuff that is questionable? And this is going to seem like the most cryptic thing ever, but there is a horror VR game coming out, and all I know is there is something that happens in it, and when people have experienced it, it's going to be a massive conversation because it's something I'm like, if they put it in the game, which I think they are going to put it in the game, I'm just like, I think this is where a line is crossed. Not to say I agree or disagree with it. I've had lots of extensive conversations with friends about it,
sure.
But I do think we're entering an era now where some of the things that you do in video games. Because people go, oh, but when Doom came out, people complained about the violence and like it was just a game. In VR, it's very different where you're the person doing it. I think about Saints and Sinners, the way you grab heads and then stab the knife in and tug it out. Like I'm not saying that makes me. Oh, I like the idea of stabbing knives in people's heads and dragging it out. But the point is,
and it's also easy to dismiss and say, you know, oh, Doom was like whatever. I'm wondering how easy it's going to be to dismiss this stuff in 10 years or 20 years as well, and be like, oh man, remember VR? That was so primitive. That wasn't even fucking remotely like what we have now. It's like, how could anyone have ever taken that shit seriously? And so, I mean, you know, I think we'll know much more after the fact, you know, like depending on where technology goes. But yeah, actually, sorry, I didn't mean to downplay what you were saying.
No, not at all. No, you're absolutely right. And then some people in the chat already know the game I'm talking about. The
last time I heard about anything like this was Martha's Dead, and I remember like saying like, oh, there was like this scene that was like had to be removed, I think, from the PlayStation version or something because it was like too graphic. Which you know, but that's obviously not a VR game.
Wasn't there a VR game where it started off where you had to hang yourself and they had to get rid of it on the Quest? It was like, was it called Bone? Oh man, what? It was like the sort of sandbox game.
Boneworks or
yeah,
Bone
I
Lab?
could be completely. I don't want to be liable. But
I don't really know, man.
There was a game where that was, and then obviously there's stuff where it was like super hot. They removed actually something I really loved in the game, but you know that's a creative decision. Yeah. What I'm talking about is VR is just such a personal thing because you're in the game, like you're in that world. And I've always talked about the idea of like trauma. I mean, look, people have seen my live streams with the heart monitor. There are moments where my heart rate goes up like 20 BPM at least. It's like that's having a physiological impact on me and, you know, what I'm doing. And obviously, I'm totally cool going about it, but it's not about people like us that are quite well read on VR games. And again, without going into specifics, the reason I'm interested about this game is it's something that happens quite near the end. And I think that if it's something that's quite controversial that happens near the end of a game, once you are going through all these different things, you're like really invested in it. I think it's going to have some very interesting moral conversations after. But anyway, rambling on. We've got other things to cover.
Yeah, I think we do. And I will say this has been an interesting week, as you guys know. That I haven't had a kitchen for a year, trying to get that back up and running. Something that my parents were kind of adamant about because they're helping me out. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Were that you know that the kitchen. The kitchen's tiles have extended out into most of my living area, and they're like, listen, if you're going to get your kitchen taken care of, like you should get all of the apartment, like, you know, like have that extend out the same way that it does. We don't want like all these little awkward like different floorings and shit. And so basically what's happened is that now I'm like my place is fucking ridiculous. Like absolutely ridiculous. It's impossible to live. I've got like just all my bookshelves that used to be behind me are pushed into my bedroom. I'm like basically like doing this between bookshelves to get to my bed. There's stuff stacked up on my bed. It's ridiculous. Like I'm sleeping on a third of my bed because there's no place else to put the other shit. And so I'm sleeping on a third of my bed and walking through a labyrinth of bookshelves and the whole studio is fucked up. That's a long way of saying I can't even get to my PlayStation 5 right now. The fact that I'm able to do a GameScast tonight is mind-boggling. I really wanted to do Ghostbusters last night. I wanted to do a live stream with everybody. Didn't realize that when the construction guys were gone, that the whole place was going to be in disarray, and I didn't have. It took me an hour to figure like how am I going to get my internet back up and running. It took me an hour to get the PC itself powered back on. Never mind running the HDMI cables back and forth the way they need to in order to play a fucking VR game. So that's the long way of saying this is the first time on GamesCast that the topic of discussion are games that I haven't had a chance to play. And so thanks to all the cats out there who told me to go ahead with the show anyway, because Myles has played Journey to Foundation and Ghostbusters. And so he's going to be leading the discussion on these. Myles, we had a lot of concerns about Ghostbusters leading up to launch, and I have not gotten a chance to play it. What were your thoughts when you jumped in there?
I love that the tables are turned because we have done some GamesCasts where I haven't played a game, so it's nice to give you a break. But I know you would much rather have had the opportunity to play them. Look, GameCats, I have definitely had concerns leading up to this game, like everyone, because of the review system, where very controlled review reviews were given out to specific people where they got certain builds where they didn't get to play the full game. I think that's what happened with like the first impressions that we saw about a month ago. And then review keys went out at launch. I think mine came through 6 p.m. our time. It came out at 6 p.m. I already paid for the full version and had it preloaded because I was like, no, I'm going to do this at launch. And I didn't know when we were going to be receiving it because they were very cryptic about it. And so I went in as a paying customer. And there's so much I can say about Ghostbusters, and I'm going to break it into two parts. My initial impressions playing during my Let's Play, which was about 90 minutes long, and then sort of I've gone back and played a lot more afterwards. During my Let's Play, this is how I'd break it down. The way the game opens up, I think, is amazing. There's a prologue. It teaches you sort of the how the game works. It sets the scene. I think this is clearly an End Dreams game. Like, it's got really great visuals. I think the resolution's great. The first thing I find is sometimes when you play VR games, you're like, I'm playing a VR game. I've got these two controllers in front of me and they're operating hands. This was a game where I was like, oh no, I've got hands. Like, it sounds like such a subtle thing, but it really is important. I enjoyed the prologue. And then you play a mission solo, which was fine. And then you go into I don't know if it's not a fire station. I can't remember what this actual place is.
Is it the San Francisco? Is it like a subway / train station /
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I knew it was in San Francisco. So yeah, it's not a fire station, but it's a HQ. And the first time you go into it, I was like, because I was trying to join a game with my friend Johnny, and I was like, when I was doing the first mission, I was like, it won't let me invite anyone yet. As soon as you complete that mission, you go back to the HQ. You're there with other random players that have just like completed the tutorial. Now, I know there are going to be many of you out there like, oh, playing with randoms, don't want that. Or you can just quit and then find your own thing. But the reality was, it was kind of cool saying, oh, hey, have you just played? Yeah, let's go into a mission together. And the HQ space itself, I think, is amazing. And End Dreams, I don't know how many multiplayer games they've actually done. And it's not to throw shade at other developers that have had many experiences with multiplayer and still seem to be having issues no matter what launches are. Like, Ghostbusters it came out on launch. There was no early access to get the multiplayer right. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, Ghostbusters is one of, if not the best, social / matchmaking experiences I've ever had in VR. It's so fast. The funny thing about it, though, is you do get a code for your room if you want to go private. And I was joking to Brian. I said, hey, Brian,
wait. How many digits? We just lost video.
Oh, we did?
Yeah, Discord just went down. And it's back?
We're back? Are we back? Hello,
yeah,
everyone?
No, everything's fine. Okay. I'm just surprised the stream didn't go down in the middle of that. Interesting. All right, sorry. As you were.
Yeah. So I was saying to Brian in Discord, I was like, Brian, when it comes to a room code to join your friends, how many digits do you think is a good number? And Brian rightly said, maybe 4, maybe 5.
Yeah.
I was like, how about 8 digits, Brian? Yeah, that's right, everyone. You need an 8-digit code to join people. So it means like taking the headset, if you're like me, with short-term memory, to do 4 at a time. But joining people is super quick. If you're in a private room and you need another couple filled, you just uncheck private, and within moments, you're going to have people joining you. In the HQ, you have these like TV monitors around that are playing the news in the background at the whole time. And just stuff like that is amazing. Like, End Dreams have done really well. The music is incredible. The flurries of Ghostbuster music. I was playing with one Gamecat who said in one mission, oh, wow, this is like the music from Ghostbusters 1, the first movie, which I didn't recognize. Obviously, I've seen it, but I didn't recognize the music. And the sound design is incredible. The ghosts are really great. I know that I had a lot of concerns, like many of you, who were wondering, like, the cartoony style, are these actually like proper ghosts and stuff like that?
Right.
It felt like the real Ghostbusters, and it's been a really good time. Now, the question is, with all this...
You said the real Ghostbusters mean like the cartoon series?
Sorry, the cartoon series, yeah, which is what I grew up watching, and I absolutely loved it. So the question I know a lot of people have is, but is it fun? Is it fun? I had a lot of fun. when I started playing it. I thought the intro was slow, but like it was necessary. It was a good setup. I thought it was really great. When I played the first mission though with my friends, it was called Harvesting or Harvester. And it's where you basically have this big like Ghostbuster trap machine, and you've got to fix it first. And then you have 4 canisters that you've got to find, and you've got to fill up each of the canisters with ghosts and take them back to the Ecto one. I think because it was our first time doing it, we were playing for like 15 minutes, and then the ghosts stopped spawning. And I think they were stuck over the wall or something. And in the end, we had to do a hard quit and restart and quit the game, and which meant we lost all our progress. And what became very apparent to me was this game is fun, but it's quite repetitive and grindy, especially if it takes as long to complete the missions as it was. And it was because I didn't fully understand what we were supposed to be doing. Okay. And so, do you know what? Before I go in anymore, I've got a list here of like all my pluses and minuses, and I'm just going to read them, or else I'm going to ramble so much. So just interrupt Brian at any point, right?
All right.
So the positives, right? So sorry. The final thing I'd say is, so I left my Let's Play with very mixed feelings. There was a lot I loved about it, but a lot of issues I had with it as well. I wasn't sure how I felt about it. Since then, I've gone back into it, and I'm having an absolute blast. But it still has issues. And my big question is, what is the longevity of this game because of the repetitive nature? That's the quick summary.
So we're gonna be playing this all weekend, in other words, to find out the answer to that question.
I can't wait to jump back in. Like after this, I'd be happy to jump in and play some now. Actually, I don't know if you're up for that, Brian.
If I can find my headset in this mess, I will definitely jump in with you. Yep.
All right, let's do that. Yeah. So, right, here are all my pluses. So, firstly, it looks fantastic in the headset, great resolution and art style. And I always feel a bit cautious saying great resolution because I find that Brian and everyone else has a much better gauge on what good resolution is.
How did the End Dreams logo look when the game starts? That's the important thing.
It looked good, man. Like the intro, when the game kicks up and it's done, the first time you do it, it has like voiceover because it's sort of introducing you to the story. I think it's cinematic. It's awesome. I like the ghost design. As I said, reminds me of the real Ghostbusters cartoon I adored as a kid. Impressive sound design and music. The social component is brilliant. I've mentioned. Love the opening. I've mentioned that. It has an intriguing upgrade system that makes you want to grind. Brian and I love progression systems. There are so many upgrades.
Nice.
There are 2 currencies though. There's money that you make from doing jobs. And then there are these like spanner icons. So to upgrade something, you need like whatever the spanner icon is. That's like a currency. Like
what's a spanner? Should I know this?
Sorry, a spanner is a tool, like a wrench, I guess you call it. Okay. Like a spanner in the works. Do you not use that phrase over there?
We use a wrench in the works.
Okay, a wrench in the works. There we go. Okay, so yeah, okay, so it's a wrench icon. But I know that you earn them from completing missions, but when you get to the end of a mission, it never tells you, like, because you've done this, you've earned this many wrenches. It does it for money, but it doesn't do it for wrenches. Although, actually, when you complete a mission, it says, you've all earned this amount of money, like, each. Like, so it might say 30,000. And then it gives you a breakdown of it, how each player's performed, and each player has a different value of money. But the money doesn't add up to what it says you're getting. So there's a lot of like, there's a lack of clarity of like, well, how do you basically, there's a lack of signposting in this game. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense, which I'll get to in a bit more, which they definitely need to clean up. It supports crossplay. I think it's great because it means for a great player base, there's always players to play with. The only issue is though, if you play on PSVR2, the only thing you can do with your fingers is this. If they're on Quest, they can do this and give thumbs up, and they can even put that down and just do that and point. So I'm very jealous of Quest players at the moment. They've got that.
That's such a weird omission. Like
so basically, I think it's the 2 buttons aren't working. So your grip buttons work to do that, but the trigger buttons don't work, and the thumb, if you put your finger on the thumbsticks, I'm guessing, doesn't work. Yeah. So I don't.
Did I freeze time? No, sorry. Like three people are going to get that reference. I apologize. Keep going.
It's such a weird thing to complain about, I know, but I thought I'd say it. Just before playing this, doing this live show, I actually played the end boss with some Gamecats, And the end boss is really tricky. And when we thought it ended, it then went to a whole nother level. And then there was stuff that was happening that I was like, oh shit, this was in the trailer. I forgot. Don't look at the trailer again. Like, just go into it. The end boss is VRAF. And it reminded me of the trickiness of playing the Master System Ghostbusters game, where you hope you don't die because, you know, if I die, I've got to go all the way back to the beginning. Like, it's a long slog, the end boss, and it's epic. Now, if I play it again, I don't know if I'm going to have that same feeling, but we were all laughing on the end boss, and we were just having a great time, and everyone was cheering once we completed it. It was proper tense. So yeah, really, really, really good fun.
I love that you just said if you haven't watched the show, or if you already watched the show, don't watch it. And I'm playing it again only because it's at the beginning of your live stream, which I just downloaded and now is about to play.
No, that's cool. No worries. I mean, I don't even know if I can see the moment on it. What have I got? Yeah, the HQ is great. Love the TV screens running in the background. The upgrade stations are really cool. You have these cool wardrobes where you look in the mirror, and you can change your costumes, and it has a firing range to test stuff that you can upgrade, which is good. This isn't a horror game, okay? There's a lot of people that are going, is it for kids? To just actually take that bit first. Since I've been playing with a lot of randoms in Ghostbusters, I've been playing with a lot of Gamecats, but I've also done a lot of random matches. I've been teamed up with a lot of kids who are very, very young. And as they're playing, they're like getting into character, going, oh, get to the Ecto 1, we got to do it. Oh, I've got something coming up on my scanner. Like, we got to do this. Oh my God, I'll cover you, you cover me and stuff.
Listen. I'm not a super big fan of kids, especially when gaming. That kind of sounds adorable.
It's amazing, and I'm just like, there was a lot of questions leading up to this of who is this game for, and I think it was a fair question to ask. This is clearly like young kids are having a great time, and I'm just like, I just think about when I was a kid liking Ghostbusters. Like, I was into the real Ghostbusters before I'd seen the movies. You know, that was my generation's, you know, introduction to Ghostbusters.
Right.
And the fact that young kids are like getting into character now, I'm just like, this is amazing. This is such a cool thing. So I know some people are going, oh, it's Rec Room. It's not Rec Room because you can control who you play with. You can just play with your mates. But I think the fact that kids are going to get to enjoy it and team up, I think, is amazing as well.
In the chat, Ghosts and Goblins Ace Gamecat, excuse me, says Ghostbusters Lobby sounds like After the Fall, but done correctly. Do you find that to be accurate?
Yes. So, my biggest frustration with the After the Fall was, here's the social space. It wasn't social. This is so good. And actually, I would love to see the social area, except you're still standing here reading the warning screen. How long do you stand here on your live stream? Oh, sorry, no. It's because I do the introduction first before I start the game, so you need to just skip it forward, Brian. Okay. Yeah, sorry.
Dude, now that I have control over the video, I am so happy that...
I'm so sorry, yeah. I should have mentioned that, yeah. I actually do joke in it going, yeah, you don't want to see the warning screen anymore. But it's because as soon as you press continue, it starts like the cinematics and stuff like that. I would actually recommend, so you don't spoil the intro, like scroll to like 20 minutes in maybe.
Dude.
Because that will be missions. I wouldn't, the prologue I'd let people enjoy for themselves.
I knew that there was going to be issues when I switched over to the system. But I don't actually have control over anything. It's not letting me skip ahead for some reason. So my apologies. Right. We're just gonna watch. We're just gonna watch Myles stare cool. at the End Dreams logo here for a second. Yeah.
Awesome Tatum says his only complaint is the lobby needs 4 upgrade stations. So there are only 2. So only 2 of you at a time can use them. The other 2 are like under repair. Like, so it's a part of the style. I think that's been a creative decision that they're like, if we just make 4 stations, everyone's just going to go to the stations and not do anything else. Whereas if it's 2, you got to kind of take turns. So maybe 2 upgrade while 2 are looking at the map of like, what mission are we going to do next? So I don't know. That's me kind of speculating. But going back to like the thing about it being made for kids,
sirens.
This isn't a horror game, but there were 2 moments. One during the prologue, and then one when I was playing earlier today. There was a new enemy I discovered. It genuinely gave me a jump scare. It was genuine. It was so in your face, and I was like, I can't believe that was in this game. But then Ghostbusters did have scary moments. There was actually an enemy in the real Ghostbusters that terrified me as a kid, and I've looked it up on YouTube, the boogeyman. as a kid, I remember my dad had to turn the TV off because I was in tears. It was the scariest thing I'd ever seen.
I feel like I remember that.
Yeah. He was like, it was not a ghost, so they weren't able to trap him. And he had the most scary voice. But anyway, apart from that. So, yeah, there are moments that give you a fright. I love the character designs. I know many of us were unsure about it from the trailers, and I wasn't as well from the promos. But when you're in the headset, it works. And then finally, for positives, excellent lighting effects. There are moments where the ghost like shut down all the lights and it gets really dark. And on the flip side, when you use your streams, the illumination on the walls, small things like that, absolutely incredible. Right, the negatives. As I've mentioned, it needs much clearer signposting for missions and game mechanics, especially the first time you play missions. There are still mechanics in the game that I don't understand, and I've asked people I've played with and they don't know. It tells you in the tutorial, right? So there are these like purple like clouds that you find and you can get them in your ghost trap. I think it tells you in the tutorial what it does, but I can't remember. And like when you trap them, they respawn again. So I'm like, what is this actually doing? So someone in the chat might be able to correct me. The point is, once you're in the game, there needs to be some way of like looking things back up again if you need to be reminded. There are a lot of mechanics in the missions. So like the enemies have 2 health bars. They have a blue bar, let's just say it's a shield bar, and then a sort of a red bar, which is their health bar. And what you have to do is you have to zap them to get their shield down. And once their shield down is down, you can then tether with your beam. And then it becomes like a fishing exercise where you pull away, and it's kind of like you don't want to pull away too far. You want to keep latching on, and once you heat so much, you can press the X button and it pulses them. And the lower their health, the easier it is to drag them into your ghost trap. There's a lot of people that you play with early on that clearly don't know that, even though it tells you in the tutorial. But like a lot of things in tutorial, it's the first time you get taught stuff. You don't remember everything.
Right. And
I just think that clearly there needs to be a better job of signposting stuff. There were so many bugs in the game that still are in the game. So in the first mission we ever played on my Let's Play, there was 15 minutes where we couldn't see the ghosts. They weren't appearing, and we had to do a hard cut. There are other glitches.
And before you get too deep into this, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. You played day one, a patch came out after you started your live stream, right? But you've gone back in since, so you know which bugs are still there and which ones aren't.
Correct, yeah. So I played earlier today, and there was a bug where a ghost like got caught out the wall. We were able to go and find them, but then we weren't able to bring them back into the room that we needed. So like, ghosts go through walls, and if I was a ghost, I would go out of the arena as well until the Ghostbusters decide to give up and go home. But yeah, one of the other major glitches there are is with the sound. Often when the sound is once the game gets underway, people's voice chat gets incredibly quiet, so it's hard to hear them.
Okay.
And then there's times where the sound just cuts out. Sometimes it's just like all the enemy sound cuts out and you just hear the music. On the flip side, all the environments and music cuts out, so you just hear the enemy. And other times, all the sound cuts out and you have to do a hard reset to get it working again. And there's a lot of jankiness where you're picking up items and they're not clicking in. And when you're in the frantic nature of it all, that just needs to be smoothed out. So yeah, there's a lot of bugs which have been really, really frustrating. There's also like just again when it comes to signposting, it needs to be made clearer when your teammates are downed. So if you get downed, you're covered in slime and you need to high five a teammate. Your teammates can still be blasting with the guns, and you can just like touch their hand while they're holding the gun. And as long as your hand touches their hand, you're then brought back. So when someone is downed, they look exactly the same. They can walk around except they're covered in goo. But then there are earlier stages where they're covered in goo, but they're still in. There needs to be better indication because, for experienced gamers, we can kind of work it out. But again, I'm thinking for gamers that aren't familiar, there needs to be better signposting. Couple more things. Right. Yeah, this is the main thing. The core gameplay was initially very engaging. I enjoyed it, but it does get very repetitive, especially with all the issues that I've mentioned when there are glitches and stuff like that, and there are bugs and things. What I'm really surprised about, and I think my biggest conclusion from this game is this is classic End Dreams. Very high quality, fun gameplay, but not a huge amount of content.
That's always the
and
but
I hope
with
they
them.
keep adding.
End Dreams always has a big butt. Sorry, End Dreams, but y'all got a big butt, and the big butt is that the games are great, but there's just not enough content. It never seems to be.
Right, and because they're so excellent at what they do,
yeah.
Sony keeps going to them. So, like, Synapse was a Sony first party, and so we can only speculate their ability to, like, build on that world is whether Sony wants it. This is a Sony Studios VR, Ghostbusters. Their ability to add to it depends on whether they want to keep building on it, which, by the way, Synapse and this game, if they keep adding to it, would be phenomenal. And I'm going to give you 2 concrete examples, right, of things that I think they've missed. Like, there are like 4 or 5 game modes, which are all like fun. But I'll give you 2 of them. So one of them is Harvester that I've already mentioned, which is where you have to repair this big harvester machine, and then you have waves of enemies, and you have to fill up 4 canisters and take it back. When you go into the match and there's different levels you can do it on, the canisters are hidden around the level, and the parts you need to repair you need to find around the level as well. I've tried this many times on the same level, and I'm willing to be corrected, and it might just be a complete coincidence. There are some that I've played like 3 times now in a certain level. Mm-hmm. The canisters and the components you need to find are in the same place every single time. And so if you've got a game that has a limited number of game modes, an easy win to make it replayable is every time you've got to find the canisters and they're in different places. Like, that just seems like such a simple game mechanic to have to make it have more replayability. Because as soon as we go into it, it's like, oh, no, we've played this before. Canisters in there, and there. And okay, you get it done quicker and stuff like that. But I thought that was a big missed opportunity. Second one, exorcism mode. This is where you have these 3 stands and you have a portal in the room. And what you have to do is you have to scan any of the stands you want to. And then you have to find a possessed item to them in the building that it will lead you to, your scanner, that you then put on the stand. And once all 3 are done, it spawns a boss. Now, I believe the items that you need are different each time, which is fine. And I might be corrected. If they are the same, then shame on them, because that's a big flaw. But the boss that spawns is the same boss every time. And you fight that boss also in the lead up to the end boss in the end boss mission. That's another missed opportunity. Have 5 different bosses with different game mechanics, because then it's like, oh, what's going to spawn? Like, which one do we have to react to? And so even if we're to, honor and say End Dreams, they only had 5 game modes. Within those game modes, there is an opportunity to have greater variation, and they haven't seized on it. And that might just be a question of time. But I'm just like, I don't know. And whenever I come up with these criticisms, and I know a lot of people might think this as well, is you're always like, am I just being not entitled, but am I just like, not as a developer, just being like, oh yeah, you could just do this, this, and this. Like, development is very, very hard work. But I just feel like if you're putting in all the hard work to have a game that looks so good, is an amazing tribute to the Ghostbusters franchise, is really fun, and then it's like you have a thing that could just give it so much more longevity and haven't done it, it just leaves me feeling quite confused. So I know it's been a really long ramble, Brian, and I'm happy to take any questions. But in terms of how I feel about the game at the moment, I'm having a really good time with it. But there is a big shadow over my head, which is any day now I might go, I'm done with this game. I never want to play it again. Yep. But a lot of the fun does come from playing with your friends as well. So, yeah, I feel very conflicted.
Okay, so how much time do you think you spent with it so far?
4 hours maybe.
Okay.
4 to 5 hours.
And so as is with the issues, do you think people should pick it up and try it out for themselves, or do you think it's too expensive? Do you think, I know
how much is the regular version? Is it $25?
35 and 55.
Oh wow.
So do you think people should check it out for themselves? Is it kind of in that category where it's like, hey, this has issues, but they're not so bad where you should just avoid it like the plague? Or is it like this has issues, wait for them to work it out and see where we're at?
I find these questions really hard to answer because I take people's money very, very seriously.
Sure.
Sure. And I'm always like that with my Let's Play. With the Let's Play, I'm like, it's too early to say. Mm-hmm. But there are sort of three aspects to how I will answer this. Firstly, if you've looked at the trailer and you go, this game is not for me, I'm not. And actually, this gets into point 2, which is if you're a Ghostbusters fan. But if you're looking at this and going, this kind of world doesn't really interest me or anything like that, then don't get it. But if you're curious, I think that is a positive towards trying it. Mm-hmm. If you're a Ghostbusters fan, I think if you're a Ghostbusters fan, I think I would recommend this. I think, and then the third component is: do you have friends to play with? Unless you're someone that's not adverse to playing with randoms online, but that's just always a mixed bag. You get people that leave their TV on in the background, there's massive echo and stuff. But then obviously we have the Discord. The Discord's very active. You put a code up there, people join in. There's a lot of Gamecats I've played with. I've had a great time. So I think that the combination of, look at the trailer and what you think. Obviously I've done a Let's Play that you're welcome to check out and get more of a sense of. If you're a fan of Ghostbusters and you like teaming up with people, I think if those three things appeal to you, then I think definitely give this a go.
Let me phrase the question a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Now that you spent 4+ hours with it, and obviously you bought it, you paid money for it. Do you regret the decision of purchasing it? If you were not running a channel, if you were not trying to stream, would you have said maybe save that for something else?
I probably would have regretted buying the containment edition, because obviously that was a lot more expensive, which is what I bought. And
is that really just skins? Like, is that do they really not give you any other content with that?
So I misread one of the things because it says you get like 3 avatars. I thought, that's characters, and it's not. Obviously, it gives you skins as well. I just want to go on the Ghostbusters, the PlayStation page for this and read it, because there's a couple of other things. PlayStation Ghostbusters. Here we go. There's a few things I want to read through what the containment edition comes with. Okay. So it comes with the game. That was good. It comes with a season pass, it says. Okay, so that means more content is coming, which, okay, I'm interested. So it gives you more than 4 equipment skins. You can have like it looking gold. I wish there were more skins in the game, just generally, that you could buy. Okay, there's 10 additional playable avatars. And the avatars are really cool. I think that's cool. There's a Slimer hunt feature and collectible, which I've not discovered yet. I don't know if that's coming later. And there's additional bonus content. I looked at that, and for me, it was like, it's an extra £15. And obviously for reviewing it, I thought I'm just going to go full out. Like, yeah, let's give this a go. I think if you're a massive Ghostbusters fan, you might get it. But then also, I think you can get those add-ons after you've bought the standard game.
$20, yeah. Full containment edition upgrade is $20 on the store.
Okay.
So there's no reason to buy it, because you're not getting it. It's not going to cost you more if you don't buy it now.
In the conversation of do I recommend this game to anyone, with all those caveats that I've given, it would be for the standard edition. I'm very cautious with this game because, I don't know, when I did the Let's Play, there's a lot of anger in the chat. Like, I say anger, that's probably poorly described. There's a lot of bitterness and cynicism, which you just see across all games. There's a portion of communities that just want to see stuff fail and like really lay in when stuff hasn't delivered.
Sure.
But for me, it was like, I went in open-minded, but in the back of my mind, and when I did the Let's Play, all I heard in the back of my mind is, what were they hiding from us? What were they not wanting us to see?
Right.
And so when the first mission had all these issues, I was like, okay, that's really disappointing. But that was off the back of an intro that really, I was like, it's simple, but I really, really like it. And it's what you're kind of seeing on the screen at the moment. I mean, as I said, after this live stream, I want to go back in it. I was playing with a good friend of mine before the show as well, and he texted me afterwards and went, this was so much fun. I can't wait to play some more. Let me know when you want to play tomorrow. So It's not just me, but I'm just very, very cautious when it comes to recommendations because this game does have issues, and I think some of these issues will be like issues that some people might go, I'd want a refund for it. And we know what it's like for PSVR2 and Sony.
It sounds like it has a lot of potential, though. Do you feel as though that's true?
This is how I feel about End Dreams. And by the way, I don't want to put Synapse in the same category. Like Synapse for me is a top 25 contender. Right. I'd argue top 10 now, actually, even though I wish it had more content. But Ghostbusters, like the core gameplay is really good, and depending on what the roadmap is and how much they add, if they keep adding to it and keep adding enemy types, I think this is going to be amazing. Because there were just 4 or 5 hours in, I came across this enemy type that just gave me a jump scare, and I was like, that is so cool. That is so cool. Like, I want more surprises like that. If they bring the bogeyman in from the real Ghostbusters, then I'll stop playing it. But I'll be too scared. But yeah, and I don't know if there are any questions from the chat. I know there's been a lot of conversation going on, but I have felt very conflicted about the game. But it's not an even split of 50-50. There's a lot of fixable things here. There's a lot of things they can add on. But the question I've always got is End Dreams makes these games and then they move on to the next project. Right. And my feeling is, and I have no reason to believe this or not, this is pure speculation. I have a feeling it's always been out of their control.
Well, that's not even pure speculation. When Fract came around, that was paid for by Sony. And so if Sony's not like, hey guys, we're going to pay you to make some DLC for this game, then they're not going to do it. Like that, they're not even allowed to do it. Right? So it's under Sony's control. Same thing happened with Synapse. Unless Sony says, hey, this game really needed a final boss, you guys. Like, go in and do it. They don't have control over that. But the problem is that this is a cross-platform game. I think this is the first End Dreams game I can remember. Somebody in the chat is going to correct me, I'm sure, but this is the first one I can remember that actually has plans for DLC, 6 months content, and so that's really going to determine a lot of things for a lot of people. Is what does this content entail? Are there going to be new locations? Are there going to be more weapon upgrades? Are there going to be new ghosts, new bosses, all of that? And if that's the case, then cool, man. This game might be fucking real cool in 6 months.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And actually, just seeing this footage of my Let's Play, there were a couple of moments where I just suddenly stopped and I went, whoa. Like, there was just these moments of like real immersion of like, this game looks amazing. Like, End Dreams are just incredible. Like, they're just incredible at what they do. They're just incredible at what they do. Like, and also, like, I don't know what if they've done a multiplayer, like, just how well the multiplayer works. At launch, there's been no issues. And I don't want to kick the boot in, but, everyone knows I'm talking about Firewall Ultra. Like, Firewall Ultra has just been so depressing to me because I love what they do in the game, and I'm just like, how did it go so wrong?
Right.
And this has gone so right. But yeah, the question that was mentioned earlier was about like after the fall, and forgive me if I did actually answer this point earlier, because I think I actually didn't, and I went on to
literally 30 minutes ago.
Yeah. This feels like a mirror of After the Fall. After the Fall's social component and foundations were abysmal, but like the levels were fully fleshed. There's a lot to do there, a lot to grind for. Even if the items weren't particularly great, I think basically where After the Fall wasn't great, it could be like the items and the upgrades and then the social space. Ghostbusters has absolutely nailed it. The social space is amazing. It works really well. The upgrades are incredible. You can get like, choose what upgrade you want for your rifle. So you can get like turrets or a shield. And I don't know, but the turret then has 6 different upgrades of different levels. So there's so much to do that I've barely scratched the surface of. So I'm really excited to do that. But then when it comes to the amount of content and like how big the levels are and like what you do in them, it just feels, I don't know, there's something there, but I'm just like, I don't know how many times I'm going to want to do it. But I would also say when it comes to like the Platinum Trophy, I think there's only 2 trophies I need left, but they are grinds. And they seem to be mirrored in terms of percentage completion. So one of them is you need to earn $1,000, which I think I'm at 24% complete, and then you need to do 100 jobs, and I've done 22, so 22%. So they seem to be quite mirrored. So those are going to be grindy, and I think to unlock all the outfits and stuff, like there's things you unlock, you got to do 44 missions. At least that's what it says on the display in the HQ. So
yeah. Well, After the Fall was insanely grindy, and I didn't think the rewards were worth it.
No.
So playing something that's also grindy with rewards that I'm looking forward to actually getting, like upgrades for each of my weapons and different gadgets or whatever. Very curious, man.
And when you team up with friends and you're going into a mission and you've totally nailed it, and you're like, we know how to do this mission. Let's see how fast we can do it because you get more money. That's when the buzz comes in. I think I was enjoying it less during the Let's Play because I was like, why is this not working? What are we doing? As soon as the game slows down and you're not sure what you're doing. So, and I was an idiot because when we were fighting this massive boss, I kept zapping him. And then once it was to his health bar, I wasn't dragging it back. And if you're doing that, you're not doing any damage to him. Like you've literally got to do ghost fishing. And so I realized that what took us about 20 minutes probably could have taken 5. But yeah,
it's a learning process.
It is. There's some other cool mechanics in the game that I'm not going to go into just because I'd rather people learn it for themselves, because there's some just really cool surprises and stuff in there. So,
well, good first impressions, interesting first impressions, despite being a little all over the place in terms of good and bad. So definitely be keeping a close eye on this. I can't wait to jump in and play a little bit this weekend. Obviously, AJ and I will do our show Monday, and I will have my own impressions. I
can't wait to hear them, dude.
Haven't even started this game up. Like, I can't remember the last time that's happened. And so I'm, even just listening to you talk about this, even watching your live stream here, insanely jealous, because very seldom do I feel left out of what's happening in the world of PlayStation VR. But right now I feel completely alienated. And so, after the show, I'm sure I'm going to dive right in and check it out.
And by the way, some people corrected me. I said Bogeyman, didn't I? I said Boogeyman. It's the Boogeyman.
Oh, I thought you said Boogeyman.
I did say Bogey at one point. It sounded like a golf game.
Oh, I hate Worcester so much. Like the motorcycles, people sitting at stoplights blasting their stereos. It's all coming through the microphone, and there's no sound deafening right now. It's driving me insane. Just glad we get to do the show, though. I'll say that. Yeah. Listen, we got a couple tips to take care of here. Oh, and by the way, I saw Twitcher in the chat clarified that Phantom Covert Ops had DLC, which of course did not come to PSVR or PSVR2. I wish it would, though, because Metal Gear Kayak is really fun. I played a bit of it. And he said Little Cities also had DLC. So there's that. Again, has not come to PSVR 2 yet. ... All right, you guys, let's tackle some tips because they've been sitting here on the screen, haven't touched them. Fifth with the Australian $5 tip says, cats giving to GoFundMe already. Great community. Hey, should we check it out? Whoa. Oh, he wasn't kidding. Dude, $430 already. You guys are fucking amazing.
Wow. That's amazing.
Incredible. Muy or mucho, or this is, I think, what mucho, matcha, real estate procrastination.
Wow, almost 10% of the way.
It's like, stop fucking with my culture. Like, impersonating people. Almost 10% of the way. Fantastic. You guys are amazing. Again, money is not going unappreciated. Cannot wait to book the panel room and make sure that everybody is able to attend. That's the most important part of that. Where am I? I got too many windows open. TJ Perry with the $2 tip says Backrooms VR would be lit. I agree, TJ Perry. Hopefully we will see all of these things make them over to PSVR 2 eventually. Paul at Mississippi Gamecat 445 with the $1 tip. Just that doesn't say anything. Thank you very much. JPEGQ with the $5 tip says, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Imagine Arca's Path, or Marble Madness game for PSVR2, using only eye tracking for control or movement. Myles, I'm going to guess you didn't play Arca's Path on PSVR 1 because that was one of those that flew under the radar even when it was new. And thank goodness, because it was awful. I don't know who decided we wanted to play a Marble Madness game or a Labyrinth style game with head tracking. It was awful. It was awful. Like, you're directing basically this marble around the map by looking, and after like 20 minutes, your neck was stiff and you were scared to move your head because if you get coughed or something, you would totally fuck up the game. I really despised Arca's Path. I didn't like anything about it. So first of all, JPEGQ, thanks for your question. Second of all, I don't want another game even remotely close to that, no matter how you look at it. But can you imagine using your eyes tracked as for the control scheme only? Like, it would be awful.
Yeah, sometimes you want to just look at something to see what you're going to do next. It's like, no, I don't want to go there.
Yeah. Listen, I think eye tracking is fun. I think eye tracking can be great in things like PokerStars VR or Vegas, whatever the hell it's called now. To add like that little bit of social element in order to see what the people you're playing with are looking at and kind of like give them a little bit more character. It really adds to that social interaction. I think that's great. Obviously, eye tracking is great to improve the resolution of our games using foveated rendering. There's all sorts of great uses for eye tracking. Certain developers have talked about, just looking at a table full of things in VR and using eye-tracked assistance to make sure you're picking up the right one. Because how many times in VR have you like tried to pick something up and you're picking up the wrong thing and you eventually just throw the stuff that you don't want in order to get to the thing that you do want? There's all sorts of great uses for eye tracking, but I think a lot of them right now are a little gimmicky. And so really, really hoping eye tracking sort of finds its way. What I care most about is making sure our games perform really well. That's the thing I care most about. So playing a Marble Madness game or Arca's Path style game, first, doesn't appeal to me. Second, that control scheme does not appeal to me either.
Yeah.
But that's me. Super cool video, bro. The $2 tip says, me. Brian didn't play the game. Me. Played 0 games. It's hard to read as me. So I appreciate the tip, but I think everyone will have to like read that for themselves to understand. Yeah. Also, super cool video, bro. I'm assuming you don't run a PlayStation VR2 channel, so it's not as weird for you not to play the games we're talking about today. Samos, why isn't this thing on the screen? Samos with the $2 tip says Vertigo 2 disappeared from the store. Thoughts? It's about to get a new release date. That's my thoughts. Vertigo 2, thank goodness it got delayed. Because we had too many games recently that didn't really deliver the way that we wanted them to for various reasons, and with Vertigo 2 being such a high profile game, a game that so many people have compared to or put it in the ranks of Half-Life Alyx as one of the greatest VR adventures out there. We don't want to get a half-ass version of that. We want to make sure that that game is polished and ready day one, and I think Perp is doing right by us. So I think when it reappears on the store, we'll see it with a new release date, and there's nothing to worry about. J Meow, the $2 tip, says, what score would you give the game? Oh, Jesus. He's asking the hard questions.
Man, I couldn't give a score at the moment. All I would say is I'm having... Oh, man. I mean, I think it could be in the range of, at the moment, from a 6 to a 7 out of 10. But I'm enjoying it right now as a 7 to an 8 out of 10. Yeah, is that a fair? Does that make sense? Like,
yeah. No, I mean, like, because you don't know what the longevity of the game is until you've exhausted it, and so you haven't exhausted it yet. So it's. I mean, dude, if you were like, if you were an employee of mine and you were doing a review of this game for me, and you said, I got 4 hours in and here's my review. Yeah. It's a 7 out of 10. I'd be like, but no, you can't review the game at this point. You just can't. And so yeah, I respect the fact that, we're going to hold off and discuss this in a little more detail once we've had a chance to exhaust it completely.
But the core gameplay, if they had lots and lots of modes and lots of enemy types, I could see this being like an 8 to a 9. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the core, what they've structured is amazing, and it's just so frustrating that it's like, so you spent all this time building this world, and then you've not put much in it. Just like,
yeah,
don't know.
Yeah. You know, you got to wonder with time constraints how much more they had planned, because it feels like every game ever made always the game plan is always to, you know, go pretty crazy with it. And whenever you talk to a developer and you hear what they've cut from the initial plan, it's just a lot of fucking shit. And so, you know, for a high profile game like Ghostbusters, you got to assume that like they got as much in as they could in the time frame they were given.
Exactly.
But yeah, we probably missed out on some cool stuff.
And End Dreams is a studio, massive respect for, and again, they are top tier. They make amazing stuff, and the frustration is like, there's it's like, I don't know, it's just like what is causing this to happen every time, and we've already speculated. Although, as Brian says, it's not speculation.
Okay,
let them do a live service VR game. I just feel like if End Dreams did that, win.
All right, man. We got to move along because the show's already running long, and we haven't even talked about the other big game that came out this week that I've also not played, and that is Journey to Foundation. This is one that we were really excited about for a very long time, because when it got revealed, I believe on a Sony State of Play, it was Archeac's first game in a very long time, other than like the Doom 3 VR port that they were on. This is their first new IP in a long time. So I did actually get to play 20 minutes of this. And that was all I get to play. And so yeah. I don't even want to talk about my first 20 minutes because I was super tired, and all I did for 20 minutes was talk to people. Because that's what you do for the first 20 minutes is you counter. There's this guy sitting next to you in a cockpit, and you're like, hey. He's like, hey. And you talk for a long time. And then you dock, and you go to a space station. And then they're like, hey, go talk to that guy. And I'm like, I don't want to talk to anyone else. I want to shoot something. And they're like, no. You need to talk to that guy. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go talk to that guy. And
I'm yawning just talking about it. Yeah. Just hearing about it. Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah. So... And so all I did was talk to like 4 different people over the course of my first 20 minutes. And I said, I got to go to bed. Like, I cannot do this. Like, I need something to shoot. I need action. I need something. And then unfortunately, that was the only 20 minutes I got to spend with the game, which really bummed me out because that's not a good first impression. And so I'm happy that you're here, Myles, because you can clue me in to what happens after the first 20 minutes. And hopefully you weren't as tired as I was when you played.
So yeah, after playing Ghostbusters, I did a Let's Play of this, and I played about maybe an hour and 10. I was quite partly through Chapter 2, where it was a different location. I'm not going to give a massive like breakdown of the pros and cons like I did with Ghostbusters, but I'm always putting myself in the perspective of what kind of people would like this. I think a way of describing this feels like a VR novel. Like it's a choose your own ending in terms of even that I'm not sure about actually. I mean, I know that was kind of how it was pitched, like things are consequential, and I think there are certain elements where things do feel like they could be consequential. But yeah, there's a lot of chatting to begin with. There's some cool, interesting mechanics, like you basically can see people's emotions, and then you can like tap into the frequency and like hear what's on their mind. There are some interesting like VR things that they do that I think are great on their own, but on the grand scheme of things, I really struggled with it. So simple things. Was talking to someone, and then I sort of walk to the side of them, and their eyes follow you, and then they turn their head. And there are some, game character models where what they do is when they follow you, their head just turns and their eyes stay straight. The fact that their eyes follow you and then they turn, just that moment, I was like, that gives you a real sense of presence. And so there are things that are done in this that I think are absolutely excellent. The example I'm going to give next is going to be a backhanded compliment because I thought it was really good and then it became an absolute nightmare. There's a scene in the first chapter where you interrogate someone in a jail cell, and anyone that's seen my Let's Play will know exactly what I'm going to be talking about. And I'll get to the interrogation thing in a moment, actually. But basically, once you've got the information you want, the guy that you're with says, just knock on the door and we'll let you out. And so I go up to the door and I knock on it twice, and like knocking on it with your arm, I was like, that's a really cool thing in VR, not just go and press a button or it automatically, like you're physically knocking on it and they're going to go and open to you. And I thought just things like that, I think are really cool VR touches. The only issue was they didn't open the door, and so it's 5 minutes of me in Let's Play just like punching this door and like, let me out, and I'm like, I'm the prisoner now. And so I had to restart the checkpoint, which meant I had to restart the whole scene. This was the issue with the scene. A lot of these conversations when you're trying to get information out, it's like those classic point and click games, which is you go through the conversation, and if you hit a dead end, it takes you back to the beginning, and then you've got to choose, and you can choose the same thing again, but this time, the next bit of the conversation, you choose something different. And in the cell, this guy, like, he'll talk to you, and then every time you've not got far with him, he'll then lean against the wall again. And so it eventually became, especially for a live stream, of me just like pressing the triangle button to skip through the dialogue and just trying everything until I got to whatever was going to make me get the information that I needed.
Yeah.
And so when I had the issue with knocking on the door and then had to restart the checkpoint and then go through all the interrogation again, I couldn't remember what I needed to do. And then the interrogation, I ended up taking quite a dark route with like threatening him. And then that got me onto the next bit. And then I was like, I've already now I'm playing a game with like a choice that I didn't really want to take. The only other thing I would say is there was other jankiness. There's a puzzle that you would have seen in that trailer where there's this like cube and then you have to like draw a line between it. It was constantly like picking up the cube when I wasn't trying to pick it up. And then you do get weapons, but the action in it is not great. I don't even know how I feel about the action scenes. It's like it's difficult, but not in a good way. Like it's really hard to duck and like shoot round the corner. And the guns just feel really like sluggish in terms of not just how they fire, but in terms of like the bullets that come out of them. The final thing I would say is it's always difficult because devs work very, very hard on their games, and it's also you'd say it's unfair to compare it to games that have massive budgets. But unfortunately, as consumers, we have to choose what VR experiences we want to put money for to experience. And there were two games that came to mind as I was playing this. One was Hubris, and one was Star Wars Tales to the Galaxy's Edge. And both of those games do a lot that they're trying to do in here a lot better. And I think that if in the conversation trees they just ended with however you took them, and then that was the consequence, then I think there'd be something here. But the fact is, you get to a dead end, and then you got to start the conversation again until you do the thing that's needed. That has totally killed any enjoyment in that kind of gameplay.
Right. It doesn't. It definitely takes away the idea of being the good guy or the bad guy, the good cop, bad cop type thing. When you're forced to go down one entire dialogue tree, and once you've exhausted that, go down the next one. It's like the conversations you're having don't make sense in real life.
They don't feel consequential, because it's like, oh, if I've chosen the wrong one, then I just go back to the beginning and do it until I get the right one.
Right.
And yeah,
that seems really strange.
The last thing I'd say, Brian, is because the question is so who would I recommend this for? My cautious recommendation was is it called The Journey? Is that the TV show? No, sorry, The Foundation. The Foundation is the show, right?
I'm gonna have to take your word for it. I know there's the TV show. I know that originally a series of Isaac Asimov books, but I don't. Right. I'm not familiar.
So I know it. I know So I know. So the books I know. I think there has been a TV show called The Foundation, which some might correct me and say it's actually nothing to do with this, in which case ignore that. But at least the book, if you're a massive fan of this world, then I would say, I just feel that about anything. Even with terrible VR games, if they're based on an IP that you like, I'm just like, if I was into that IP, I would get it because I'd want to be in that world, even if it was just to, be in the scene and not actually playing the game. So I would say that. But a part of me wants to continue and just see, because Chapter 2 is quite different to Chapter 1. And it just makes me think, well, what Chapter 3 could be a lot different as well. But there's a lot of jankiness. And ultimately, it's not just about where you invest your money. Obviously, Brian and I, as well as the other hosts, are very lucky that a lot of these we get game keys for. So the cost of money is often not an issue when it comes to these choices. But there is a cost of time. And there are so many VR games to play. Obviously, as I said, done 94 Let's Plays, and I don't want those to be the only experiences I have of these games. I do like going back into these games and actually enjoying them a lot more deeper. And this is a game that unfortunately doesn't compel me to go much deeper. But I feel like I might just give it one last go. I'm definitely curious to hear what you feel about it in another 20 minutes.
Yeah, for real. Brian. And I know that my comment sounded really immature. It's like, not every game has to be about shooting stuff, Brian. But like if, in a game where you do shoot stuff and you solve puzzles, and that's far more interesting than just talking to people. It's like you got to engage the gamer right away and get them involved, get them invested. And sometimes shooting somebody, and started off instead of in the middle of a conversation with somebody I don't know, and then asking me to make dialogue choices about a conversation I don't care about with a person that I just met and so also don't care about, isn't a good way to get me engaged. Even most movies that are narrative focused, right, that aren't like high action movies, usually start off with something super engaging, like maybe a small action scene or something scary or something, just for the viewer to go, ooh, that's interesting, right? And then you hit them a little bit later with these like longer narrative sections where it's like, just a long conversation. So I feel like when people say that video games haven't caught up to movies yet, a lot of them have. But I think, but the first 20 minutes of this game proves that, like, in some ways, a lot of them haven't. And so I know. So like I said, I know it's an immature thing to say. Be like, oh, let me shoot something. Let me shoot something. And hopefully, anybody who watches the channel knows that's like just not. That's not my MO. It's like I'm very interested in these worlds, and I want to run around and see how interactive they are, and kind of get immersed and learn about the characters. One of my least favorite things in VR is to stand there and talk to people, forced to just stand in one place while somebody talks at you. And that's what I did 4 times before anything else happened in this game. And I was like, that's not, this game is certainly for some people. I saw Nyla trying the game Feline. Say, this game was made exactly for me. And I'm so fucking happy that it has an audience. Because I think, again, people who are very, very familiar with the lore, and they jump in and maybe they see characters or hear about conflicts or events that are happening. Maybe that's all part of the series.Maybe that's all happening and there's something they're familiar with, and it ropes them in. But I think the magic is when you rope people in who had no knowledge of the source material. I've played so many games based on animes that I've never seen, mangas that I've never read, movies that I've never, comic books. I mean, all these, no knowledge of the source material on so many of these sirens on my end and then it made me want to go read those comic books or novels or anything. And so I really, really hope that my bad first impression goes away and I'm left with something that's a little bit more engaging. I don't usually do this. I don't usually watch anyone else's review before I've had a chance to play the game and review it myself, because I don't want to be influenced. But I watched Ryan's review from the VR Grid, and like, it didn't instill me with a whole lot of faith that this was going to get a lot better. So
that is my hope with this, which is, and I know some people said in the chat, is I hope that the story develops to a point where I'm glad I stuck with this, because actually this gets somewhere really good. And it is a slow burn. And I'm someone who likes to go into VR experiences and have something to engage with straight away. The only other thing I would actually say about this is, I think actually, and looking at the social screen footage, like the art style in that and the character models are actually pretty good, but the resolution lets it down. I would have preferred a higher resolution. basically. When I was around it, I was just like, this doesn't feel very clear. I mean, as soon as the game fired up, not actually the title sequence, the title looks great, but you have this little like cube with the menu on it, and I was like, this doesn't look very clear. And I just think those are big signs when it comes to VR games. I mean, I know we joke about it, about like the text that pops up, but if you can't get that clear, then, you know, what is? So yeah, I feel my takeaway, and I just hate saying this because I don't want to seem like I'm being mean. My first pull after playing this Let's Play was actually Ghostbusters was pretty good. But I do think it comes down to the type of games I'm into, and I do think there's something here, and I need to give it a bit more of a go.
Listen, once upon a time, before VR, actually before PlayStation 4 and 3 even, I loved games with long cutscenes, and I loved just like tons and tons of narrative. I was one of the few people that when Xenosaga came out, I was like, pop some popcorn, this is going to be great, right? Mm-hmm. So there is that element of games that I still really enjoy, and I think and obviously sometimes you have to go into a game with the right mindset, and I think when you go into a game like this, you got to pull up a fucking chair, a nice cozy couch with a blanket, make sure you're not like hyped to, get into the action. Like, you just got to put your feet up and get ready for some long conversations, and like get ready to be invested in whatever these people are saying. I feel like it takes a little bit of preparation. So many games you can just jump right into and be like, whatever you got for me, I'm ready. I feel like this one, you got to be in the mood for. Mm-hmm. And so I wasn't in the mood for it for the first 20 minutes, because like I said, I was fucking dead tired, and there was no chair around because I had no place to sit in my apartment. And so I want to go back into this, restart it, pay attention to what these characters are saying to me. When I'm doing the interrogations, like really be like the kids in Ghostbusters and get into the role. And so I want to give this a fair shake, because I feel as though this is the TV show, the books, these have all been recommended to me in the past. And so, I want to give it a fair shake. Sadly, when you're given a review key less than 24 hours before the game comes out, I wasn't able to do that, especially since, again, massive construction going on in my place. PSVR and even this computer really have not been plugged in for most of the last few days. So hopefully by Monday I'll have some impressions. That said, I am going to have to focus on the developers who did their due diligence and got review keys out on time. Right? And so that means I'm going to be focused on a Foglands review. I'm going to be focused on a Vampire the Masquerade Justice review. And because those studios cared enough to give us enough lead time to review their games and to cover their games properly. For the studios who didn't, I'm very interested in covering those games, but they're just going to have to wait. It's an unfortunate consequence of wanting to get day one reviews out. And so that's just how it's going to have to go.
I'm laughing at the footage that you're showing on screen. It's me struggling to use the elevator.
This is so weird. Y'all walk into the elevator and they're like, it's your first time here. You operate it. And I'm like, what? Yeah. Oh, I did so much of this. So much like fucking with the other characters to see if they'd react, and nothing.
Yeah.
But
I kept playing with his ear.
Oh my god, he looks like he appreciates it. I don't know.
So,
yeah. We got Lost Mojo, the Gamecat Reaper, with $20 tip, says some Lil Sleezers cash. LOL. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. Dude, I can't believe I'm saying this. Last night I discovered, and I know you've never heard of it before, anybody out there, Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is awesome. I had no idea how good Chick-fil-A was. I'm not generally a fast food guy, but I was starving last night. I hadn't eaten all day. It was like 8 p.m. And for whatever reason, I decided to get some Chick-fil-A, and it was incredible. I really needed that in my life, and I'm glad I got it. And no offense to Little Caesars, but it might be another Chick-fil-A night, considering still don't have a kitchen. Grandpa's Barbecue or Gamecat with the Australian $5 tip says, sorry, what? Stop popping. Just stop doing that. Sorry. Geez, he says, geez, I'm glad I'm not interested in Ghostbusters. Australian $52 and $82. Australian prices are insane. Also, Canadian prices are insane. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that. Macho, the real estate procrastinating Gamecat with the $2 tip says, you two keep me out of trouble. Friday nights. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing so much noise out there. People walking on the street, people yelling. Hopefully you can't hear any of this. Like, just like, it's 8:23 p.m. How are you this drunk already? Like, and I guarantee you, my favorite thing, Myles, is when I'm finally like, crawling, going to crash and go to bed at 3 a.m. There's always somebody, just as I'm falling asleep, guy or girl, walking down the street, going, and like it sounds like they're like a mile away. I can hear them crystal clear. They are trashed without fail. Every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. So a majority of the week at 3, 4 a.m., some dumb douchebag is walking down the street, trashed. And you know what, Myles? That's what you call karma, because I was that guy so many times in my life, and I can't even be angry about it. That was me. And for anyone that I've irritated through my 15, 20 years of ridiculous alcoholism, I apologize. I'm so sorry, but don't worry. I'm getting it back tenfold. Myles, last thing I want to talk about on the show today is shit. Listen, the title of the video, we got two things to talk about. The title of the video is Can October Be Saved? Because as you know, we had some rough games come out. Project Wingman did not come out as expected. Tennis On Court did not come out as expected. Ghostbusters, Foundation, the whole Racket Fury debacle. Great game. Fucking the pricing was crazy, right? And then on top of that, we had delays. Right? We had Madison VR, which like sort of, they were teasing a Halloween release date, but they've said nothing, so we can only assume. Vertigo 2 got delayed. Very Bad Dreams got delayed a month, and then of course people. Happy Funland. I think we mostly assumed it was coming out this month. It never got an official release date. There were ones that were floating around and on random retailers, online sites, but nothing official. No, Perp never actually said, "Hey, this game's coming out on this date," ever. And so that also feels like a delay, whether it is actually one or not. I don't actually know the answer to that. And then what? So October looked like it was going to be jam packed with awesomeness, and then we got some mediocrity, some disappointments, some pricing problems, and then a bunch of delays. Thankfully, we got Propagation, which was amazing. Yeah. The Seventh Guest, which was really good. Ghost Signal, and the PSVR2 version of Red Matter, which were all really great. So I still think October was a good month for VR overall. Do you think anything come out in the next week that could really push us over the top and go, you know what? It is saved. Everything's fine.
I mean, there's a lot of VR games that we thought were coming out this month, which we still haven't heard.
Right.
That I think would be incredible if they did. But at the same time, if they don't, it just means that November and December have got the possibility to be an amazing end to a first year of PSVR 2. So I'm feeling positive regardless. Yeah.
Excellent. I'm feeling pretty positive. And I think October doesn't need to be saved. I think it's a little sad that, the horror games that we wanted to play around spooky time. Oh yeah, I didn't even mention Phasmophobia. Like, let's not talk about that, right? That was supposed to be out like sometime in the next few days, and that got delayed indefinitely. So we'll get a new release date on that at some point. So yeah, it just kind of sucks that all the scary games we wanted to play around scary game season didn't happen. But Propagation was fantastic, and this means that we just get to celebrate Halloween a little bit longer. If games come out in November, in December, in January, that's fine. That means we spread the horror out. It's going to be great. All right. Now that brings us to the last topic I want to talk about today on the show. Myles, did you get a chance?
I did. Oh, sorry, you haven't asked yet.
to watch that Arizona Sunshine 2 trailer?
I did, Brian, and I did hold off when it first came out because I was like, working. I could have seen it on my phone. I was like, oh no, this is proper gameplay footage. I need to see this on a proper screen. And I watched it, and like many people, I was impressed. Were you impressed, Brian?
I was fairly impressed. Like, I didn't think it was, like groundbreaking or anything, but it looks pretty good.
And a shame about the swear words. It was quite a lot of F-bombs, which just felt unnecessary.
Well, if there's a lot of F-bombs in the game, then they better be a lot in the trailer so no one's surprised when they get their hands on it.
That's also true. Fair point.
Right? You get it. Otherwise, YouTubers will come out of a fucking woodwork and say, "This isn't the game we expected. There's too much swearing," and they're like 5 out of 10. I was like, not the game they promised. I'm not making fun of anybody. I swear, I'm making fun of everybody. I mean, it looks moody. It looks atmospheric. There's in a sense, it looks overwhelming with the number of zombies. There's a lot of item interactions going on. There's early on in the trailer, they opens a chest and there's all this ammo and weapons. Then you see him walking down the street with a frying pan, and that's just and that to me is like, well, what the hell are we doing with a frying pan? Like, is this Saints and Sinners, or is this like a zombie shooter? So it's a little crazy to me, man. Like, I don't, even though we've seen gameplay now, I don't quite have the vibe for this game down. Like, do you think this is our Dead Island 2? Do you think that they're blowing it out of the water with this and giving us all the interactions that they're promising? Or do you think this is just gonna be like, more Arizona Sunshine, just more zombie shooting and with some prettier graphics and better controls?
No, I think this is going to be something quite special. After the Fall was kind of a mid-gen crossover. It was on both things. This is a truly next-gen VR experience. And as I've mentioned before, Arizona Sunshine is like one of the most beloved VR titles of, since VR has become mainstream as a domestic device. And so I think once you've got that prestige, if you're ever going to put your eggs in a basket, it's got to be that one. So I do think they're going to really knock out the park. And from what I see from the trailer, the gore and the from what I've seen of first impressions of people that have been on the game, the sort of damage when you inflict damage and the way the bodies react, and it seems like it's going to be pretty full on. But I mean, I would say the atmosphere in Arizona Sunshine was pretty shallow. But I think that actually comes a lot to the limitation of the tech and that. Like, it was a very janky game, but it was a good game. It was a fun game. But it did have, but then again, it did have some good atmosphere when you went into was it the caves or the mines? There were some bits I was like, okay, this has got a bit spooky now.
Yeah. I mean, it had boss fights and, some really cool moments. It certainly wasn't just like you're walking along a path and shooting zombies on the way. Like, you took over turrets and used sniper rifles and fought bosses and whatever. It's like, so I do think there was a certain amount of character to it.
Yes,
but yeah, it definitely had all the hallmarks of an early VR game, and that was infinitely more fun in co-op. But I think that's probably a different conversation.
Yeah, and this just feels a lot more grounded, gritty. I just think of a lot of I think of like what Naughty Dog has done. Even having just played Spider-Man 2. I mean, even the original Spider-Man had a bit of grit in it, but like games that you would normally associate with like being fun and, like Spider-Man is a fun time. Like when games really manage to sort of add the grit and a bit of like real drama. Obviously, it's going to be much more personal in the headset, and obviously in the trailer we've got what happens with the dog.
Well, let's stop there, okay? Because this is important. I've got the trailer frozen on the dog right now, and in a lot of the previews that we saw, a lot of people who got to go hands-on with the game and came out 45 minutes later and were like, it's shooting zombies in VR. At least one, if not more, of the people who did the previews, had to go on about this dead dog trope. It's like, if you've got a dog, eventually the dog will die. Why do you think they included this scene in the trailer?
I mean, it was a surprise because of those discussions, but it's bold. I feel it. I mean, my impression is it's a warning shot. I think it's a warning shot of like this is going to make you feel. It doesn't necessarily mean what the destiny of the dog is. I love the bit with the dog with the hat on in the trolley. That's amazing. Like that's such a contrast. But I think that especially when it comes to injuries to animals, I know it's a very sensitive spot for dog owners and stuff. I don't own a dog. My brother has a dog that I absolutely adore. I know there was a lot of controversy when The Last of Us came out, Part 2. And it's like, and I'm not here to have a conversation about it. I'm just merely explaining what the commentary was. But, you know, murdering and slitting the throats of humans, yeah, that's fine. Killing a dog that's attacking you, yeah, that's not cool. There was like massive controversy about it, even though it was a computer game. So, you know, when I see stuff like that, I kind of feel like that trailer's just saying, look, prepare. It doesn't necessarily mean what the destiny of the dog's going to be, but the dog's going to get hurt, and that's going to be tough. And it also might say that there's going to be other bold or, you know, brave decisions or that they take in the narrative. So, like we were joking about with the swearing, and like there's gore in this, you know, this is clearly just saying this is the kind of game it is. We don't want people to be in, you know, because I think actually Arizona Sunshine, the first one, was a lot more, I'm tempted to say arcadey. Would you agree with that? But not, maybe arcadey is the wrong word, but like it wasn't, this feels like it's going to be a lot more cinematic and like really make you feel immersed.
Well, I mean, the script was penned by Rob Yescombe, so I don't think
that's true.
I don't think we're getting any like traditional, you know, boring zombie tropes or trite story arcs that like, oh, yeah, you've got a dog, so obviously it's going to die. I think the fact that the scene was in the trailer is very, very intentional. I don't think it was a spoiler. I think what they're doing is saying, hey, you know, all those fucking previews that said dog's going to die. Listen, we're going so far beyond that. In fact, my bet is that the dog kicks it in the first couple minutes of the game, and then he's your dead zombie dog companion for the rest of the game. I think what we're seeing is early minutes of the game itself, and saying this is a setup for the actual story. This dog is a zombie dog, and he's your buddy. This is some Pet Cemetery shit, Myles, going on right here. Right? It would be awesome. It would be awesome if you had to bury the dog to bring him back to life in the Pet Cemetery. And if you're if you're playing in co-op, you have to bury your friend every time he dies to bring him back. And he comes back just a little more fucked up. Not quite right.
Do you think co-op mode is one of you actually does have to play as the dog, so you have to be on all fours?
This brings us back to our initial conversation of this.
It's just like,
so my answer is, Myles,
no, I want to play as the human this time. No, you got to go on.
Down, boy, down.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm so glad they confirmed co-op, because obviously co-op was the reason I think to play the first game. It made everything more fun. Partially because those fucking animations were ridiculous, like they were laugh out loud hysterical, and so I hopefully they've, you know, polished this game and we can enjoy the co-op because the game is quality, not because it's, you know, because we're making fun of it. But yeah, this is going to be one that I'm going to play from co-op from beginning to end, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, same as.
Yeah, a lot of people said, you know, if this is what the game looks like, it's going to be one of the best looking PSVR2 games out there. I don't know if I agree with that. I feel as though a lot of people got real excited about this trailer in a way that I didn't. I basically was like, God, This is exactly what I expected Arizona Sunshine 2 to look like. And until I get in there and get my hands on it and play it myself and see it in the headset, like maybe some things will blow me away visually. But I'm really hoping it blows me away from a gameplay perspective. And so far, I haven't totally seen that. But we'll see.
One of the final shots with the airstrike with the crowd would look pretty impressive.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, I haven't looked at this and gone like this is going to be the best looking game ever. I do think it has the potential to be, and I'm really excited to, as you say, go in the headset, because that's the thing is we see again and again is things can look good on the social screen, and then when you're in the headset, the resolution isn't quite there. Yeah, I don't know.
All right,
I
man.
remember how I felt when I first went in on the HTC Vive into Arizona Sunshine, and I felt like I was really there. I wouldn't feel like it if I went back now, but it was like it felt like the frontier of VR, and they might do it again here. So,
Sorry, you know what? I was actually just picking a 20 questions game because I
that's
didn't
right.
have
You're
time.
allowed to do that.
And something I realized I was gonna if I chose the game that I was gonna choose, I was gonna AJ the fuck out of it because I was gonna run into a whole lot of problems. So
That's all right. That's all right.
yeah. Okay. Listen, we got some tips to take care of here, and then we'll get on to 20 questions and we get the show taken care of. I have so many windows open; it's not even funny. Macho, the real estate procrastinating Gamecat with the $5 tip in the chat says one in chat if they could. One, I had maybe type one in chat if they could make a shitting sim, and we would still have a blast in VR. We could find things to do while on the toilet.
Poop simulator.
Supposed to type one now if you agree with that. I tend to find the fun in most games. I think I would maybe not. Maybe not. Yeah. Super cool video, bro. With the $2 tip says, anyone think it's not funny? Replies say it's just me. Oh man, this was so long ago. I'm so sorry. I have no idea what this was in reference to. If you're still here, super cool video, bro. Let me know in the chat. And yeah. Yep. Because fucking my brain is broken right now. Wally is now Gamecat, specifically White Tiger. Oh, I can't scroll down any further. Are you kidding me? There are so many things to fix after the show, Myles. With the Canadian $2 tip says the environments in this look so much better. Yep. They do to a degree, like, but there were actually moments in the first Arizona Sunshine that I thought looked really good. This is obviously a dramatic step up, a generational leap forward. But he said it sounds like an Accounting Plus level about Arizona Sunshine. About Arizona Sunshine, not funny. I don't know. I can tell you that I'm going to be turning that guy's voiceovers off, I think, pretty much right away. I'll say that. While he's now Gamecat, specifically White Tiger, with the Canadian $2 tip, says Brian the Beard is looking good. Thank you. I'm very displaced right now, and even if I wanted to shave, I couldn't. So this is what you get. So. All right. Myles, can you explain to these people how to play 20 questions?
Sure. Brian has picked a game.
Well, maybe.
And I have 20 questions to find out what the game is. And I need the help of everyone in the chat because I'm going to be terrible at this. It's very, very tired. It's almost 2 a.m. here. It's been a good show. It's been a long show, but it's been a good show. Yeah,
my apologies for getting started so late. But thank you, Myles, for being such a trooper as always and sticking with it.
No, it's cool, man. I always worry every week about like my energy levels because because for most of you in the world it's daytime, and so it's even more noticeable when there's someone who's flagging. But yeah, Brian hasn't picked a game. Don't lie.
I have now. Everything's fine. All right, you guys. I need help. He's gonna need some help in the.
I need help. You don't need help. I mean, we both need help. Everyone needs help.
Yep. You guys got 20 yes or no questions and only 6 minutes to figure out what PSVR 1 or PSVR 2 game I'm thinking of.
Help me.
So help him. Suggest a lot of games and suggest a lot of questions.
I failed last time.
Did you?
Yeah.
What was the last one? Do you remember? I don't remember.
I can't remember. It was. Let's not talk about it.
On your mark.
Oh no, it was Pixel Ripped.
Oh yeah, that's right. On your mark. Get Dez. Go.
Does it have multiplayer?
No, I forgot what game I picked. Yeah, no.
Did it come out this year?
No,
it didn't. Okay, so it's PSVR.
That is such a good question to ask.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Can you play it with the DualShock?
No.
No DualShock. Is shooting? Are you shooting guns as a predominant feature or mechanic in the game?
Nope.
No.
It's not a predominant thing that you do.
Is it based on a popular IP?
No, that's 5.
Was it a PSVR exclusive?
No.
And this is a question I always ask, which is, have they gone for a realistic aesthetic?
I would say so. I think you'd call it that.
Gone for realism. Okay. Okay, let's just do some genres. Got a lot of people asking about genres. I say we've got people, it's just Looper, just shouting out them. Is it a sports game?
Nope.
Is it a puzzle game?
Yes. Yeah. It's a puzzle game.
Okay. So just as a quick recap for everyone, no multiplayer. Didn't come out this year. It's a PSVR game. Doesn't use DualShock. Shooting isn't prominent. It's not on a popular IP. It's not a PSVR exclusive. They've gone for realism. It's a puzzle game. Would it have been a discussion, like a contender for a top 25 during the PSVR era?
I think so, yeah. 10.
Yeah. Okay. Top 25 contender. Well, just because it didn't come out this year doesn't mean it didn't also come out this year. Or I don't know, actually. I was just like, could it be the original Red Matter? But I mean, maybe. Is it a part of a series?
No.
Not part of a series. Okay. Did it have a PSVR2 version?
It did not.
Okay, I just want to make sure that was ruled out. Is there full locomotion?
Yes.
Man, like a puzzly game with realism and full locomotion that would have been a top 25 contender. I just feel like I've just gone completely blank when it comes to VR games. Oh man. Someone asked, does it and not Puzzling Places, because that's come to PSVR 2. Awesome Tatum. Does it predominantly rely on head tracking? Someone asked.
No.
No. Does it involve time travel?
It does.
It does, yeah. And can you hit stuff with a paddle in this game?
Sure.
Sure. Yeah.
I think.
Can you hit... I mean, I'm just going to throw two random things out there. With this paddle, could you hit, like, women and crocodiles? Better not be alligators. I think it's crocodiles.
I can't remember the paddle you're thinking about. I'm going to have to go with yes, because I think
you did it in your review.
Paddle.
Can you visit the moon?
Yeah, that's the thing. Yep.
How many are we on?
That was 18. So you only got.
Can you lick a frog in it?
You may be able to lick a frog in it.
Brian, is it Wanderer?
It is indeed Wanderer, which does not have a PSVR2 version yet, but early 2024.
If you use a time machine, it does. But yeah, you're right. We don't actually have time machines.
Use a time machine. Most games might be on PSVR2.
That's a very good point as well.
True. Very much looking forward to the Fragments of Fate. This game looks phenomenal. It's gonna be great. Yeah, bro.
Someone said it was a port shovel, Myles. It wasn't a pedal.
It was a port shovel. It was a shovel, in fact. I forgot that port shovel was a running joke. Yeah. I'm sorry. What are we doing here? We're doing. Oh, also shout out to AVCIII. I feel like that's a number or something that I don't know because I can't do things. They were the first one I saw say Wanderer. Doesn't mean they were the first. This is the first ones I noticed because I was looking shit up and stuff and trying to run a show. But congratulations.
Oh, by the way, Brian.
Yeah.
Thank you for the congrats. Did we say what multiplayer is on Sunday?
No, because I don't know. Do you have access to Discord?
Let me find out. Unless someone else can beat me to it.
Yep.
But join our Discord and check out the multiplayer part. It's always really, really good. Oh man, I'm just so lost with the new format. Actually, no, it's all right on here. Here we go.
Also, by the way, Myles, $490 raised of the goal. So keep up the good work, everybody. Thank you so much for supporting us and getting this Gamecat Meetup to be the thing that we want it to be. The link for that is pinned in the chat if you feel like donating and helping us out.
Professor Lilith says, in honor of Halloween, we'll be playing our other co-op horror game this Sunday, After the Fall.
All right. Fantastic.
After the Fall. There we go.
Always fun. So make sure you guys join our Discord. Click the link in the description below. Come join us over there every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Professor Lilith takes care of all of the organization, and you guys can team up and play a game that probably doesn't get enough love on PSVR2. The haptics are wonderful. I'll say that. Very clear looking as well. It's a good looking game. Jim Perona. Jim Perona. He loves that, by the way. Jim Perona with the $2 tip says, can't listen at the moment, but OMG, GamesCast still rolling. Well, Jim, in case you have a 4-hour run to do tomorrow, we wanted to make sure you were covered. That's how this works. Myles, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for hanging out, being patient as we get the show started, as we listen to lots of sirens and noises of Worcester. Very atmospheric episode today. We want to thank everybody who helps the channel run. That's Rypop for getting this up on podcast services of your choice. Also, Sci-Fi Gamecat Henry, who diligently puts timestamps into the show after the fact each and every episode. Thank you to Myles. Make sure you go subscribe to his channel. Click the link in the description below. And we were showing some of his live streams, but obviously without audio, and they were no fun to watch that way. And so make sure you go check out those live streams if you want some better impressions of the games we talked about tonight. Also, shout out to everyone who supports the channel financially, not just people who donated over on our GoFundMe, but also the people who support us on patreon.com/withoutparolegames. Also the people who are members over here. That's not distracting at all, Myles, but it does look fantastic. Everyone who tips during the show, we really fucking appreciate it, man. 19 inches of venom. Everyone who hangs out, keeps us entertained while we try to keep you entertained, helps during 20 questions, and everyone who sits back and watches the show doesn't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there, and we love you just as much. Happy Friday, Myles.
Happy Friday, Brian. Happy Friday, Gamecats. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll catch you next time.
Let's go. Nothing ever works. Let's try that again. Let's go. Hey, Myles.
Hey, Brian. Are we ready to start the show?
Yeah, it does feel like that, right? How disappointed do you think everyone's going to be Specifically, Scott, the PSVR Gamecat for life. But we don't have a clip of the week ready.
Oh, we don't?
I certainly don't. Do you have one? I don't think I really have time to figure that shit out.
Let me have a look here.
I don't. I was absolutely not ready for that. Here, I thought that I had the show ready like 4 hours ago. Not the case.
No, I mean, let's have a look here. No clip of the week. I mean, was there anything posting clip of the week?
Let's check out clip of the week channel and see if there's a thing about.
Well, this is all on the fly. Why not?
We already did all the hole-in-ones, so.
Oh God, yeah.
All right, guys. For the love of God, contribute to the clip of the week channel if you want to be clip of the week. All you have to do is upload your video over there on Discord, and we'll show your video every Friday. So because there was a lack of participation, we got nothing for you, but we love you guys so very much. Enjoy your weekend. Have a great night. We love you all.
Happy Halloween.